Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Podcast The Storm, where socially awkward outcasts, crazy weirdos, and all about nerds convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Hello and good evening, folks. It's episode 60, my god. And Corrupt hasn't been a year since like the mid-30s, I think.
And I'm your host, last time on Wannabe, the Brainstormer Pop Culture. How is everyone doing tonight?
I am doing well. How are you?
I am bored and tired, but mostly that is because I've been stuck in my house for most of the last month or so.
He's going a little bit crazy.
Granted, I do not look like a shaggy, crazy man that you would find in an old 1950s asylum. I keep myself very clean and very, well, clean, I guess.
Yeah, I actually am maybe starting to look a little bit like that because I need a haircut severely.
I probably need one in another week. So, anyway, so we have. Honestly, I will admit it was kind of a slow week. Not really a lot worth mentioning, or really anything that happened.
That being said, I think we do have a pretty good show for y'all tonight.
Yeah, so we're going to start off with something a little simple to talk about, and I should have opened it before we came on.
It's only the 60th episode, dude.
Hey, give me a break. I'm tired. I'm a little tired.
His brain is slowly dying from not having enough stimulation.
True. Okay, it is loaded. So, excuse me. This is from cosmicbook.news. This is written by Matt McGoin. Published April 22nd, 2020. Star Wars female-centric series in development at Disney Plus. See,
will they never learn?
And there's a video of the creators talking, and I don't know if I could find it, but
I will say before we talk about this, I have heard that one of the creators say they don't like the series as being pitched as female centric. So good on whichever creator said that.
Oh yeah. I did. I think I sent you I sent you an article that talked about like that one of those creators.
I think so.
Yeah, we might pull that up just for time.
Yeah, we might cover both of those as like companion pieces to each other. But
Yeah,
that being said, somebody at Disney thought that this was a good idea to pitch it as female centric. My money is once again on the inimitable Kathleen Kennedy ever fucking things up. But yeah, points to the woman who doesn't like being pitched as something female centric and would like to be acknowledged for her merits.
yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. A new Star Wars series is in development for the Disney Plus streaming service, which is said to be female centric. You know, with air quotes.
Mm-hmm.
So I got nothing really to say there. I mean, like it's typical stupid bullshit.
Yeah, it's
Granted, okay,
I guess it's a good enough time as I need to dust this rant off. Dear people of Hollywood, we know when you say female centric, you mean feminist. You don't just mean female centric,
be right back.
because if that were the case, Marvel would have made a Black Widow movie ages ago and wouldn't be forcing Captain Marvel as the flagship character down our throats. But alas, we don't live in such a world. We live in a world where when you say female centric, you don't actually want female characters unfettered by any lens. You want specifically feminist characters. And therefore, if a female character is not feminist enough, oh, the reeing and gnashing of keyboards. And incidentally, that is why when people roll their eyes about things being female centric, that is why they roll their eyes. Because your bullshit is no longer working on us. We know when you say female centric, you mean feminist. If you if we got a female centric thing that wasn't explicitly feminist and didn't uh, force that ideology down everybody's throats, you might find that those things would be excessively successful. Because, funnily enough, Disney and the rest of you, the vast majority of women do not identify as feminists. Even the vast majority of people who explicitly advocate for equality don't call themselves feminists because of the existence of things like egalitarianism and even humanism, even though equality under humanism is kind of a side thing more than a deliberate goal. It's sort of a inadvertent outcome than anything. And as long as there are egalitarians, no one needs to identify as a feminist. Absolutely bumfuck no one. And therefore, you can stop forcing it down everyone's throat. Now, we know it's the moral zeitgeist of the upper class, but my apologies to the cultural aristocracy, but we got rid of the aristocracy for a reason. Please fuck off now.
Okay. The details include that it will take place in a different part of the Star Wars timeline than other projects and is being developed by Leslie Headland, the co-creator, showrunner, and executive producer of the critically acclaimed Netflix series Russian Doll.
Which I have not seen, so I have no idea whether it actually is critically acclaimed because it panders to some old guard idea of what good art is, or if it actually deserves it. So
Right.
that's a bit of a crapshoot.
Yeah, same here. Update: the series is also described as a female-driven action thriller with martial arts elements. Okay.
Of course, there would be martial art elements. There have been martial arts and swordplay elements in Star Wars since like New Hope was a twinkle in George Lucas's eye. So yeah, I I think it would be kind of stupid if there weren't those things.
Yeah.
But again, the issue people have is where Hollywood says female centric, very often it reads feminism instead of actual. It reads feminist rather than woman, and that's why people have a problem with it.
Hedlund will write and serve as showrunner on the new Star Wars series. It was previously reported that an Ahsoka Tano spin-off series from The Mandalorian Season 2 starring Rosario Dawson is in development, but this might be a different project as it takes place during a different timeline.
My money would probably be on a Mara Jade series if they're smart. If, of course, with modern Star Wars, that's quite a big if.
Right. The Ahsoka Tano spin-off series also has yet to be officially confirmed by Disney and Lucasfilm.
I do like the idea of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, though. I like that. That's good casting, I think.
Yeah. Mara Jade.
Although I'd ask if she can work under the makeup, because she needs to be able to work under the makeup.
Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker's wife in the EU canon, is a big fan favorite character, so perhaps the series will follow her.
That would be the smart thing, yes. And then the even smarter thing would be to make the movies that have occurred under Disney's 10-year non-canon and re-canonize the original EU timeline.
Speaking of which, I really gotta work on my rewrites of the sequel trilogy and shit.
Yes, you do.
One thing at a time. I got so many fucking projects as is.
Well, you also have all the time in the world as long as the quarantine is happening.
Don't remind me. Anyway, Disney developing female-centric Star Wars shows. Recently, also saw the news that The Mandalorian Season 3 is already getting worked on, with Season 2 getting released in October. That's dedication right there. I respect that a lot.
Yeah, good for Jon Favreau and team.
Yeah. Also in development at Disney Plus in regards to Star Wars is the Obi-Wan Kenobi series starring Ewan McGregor, which is getting a long delay due to a makeover.
Which is probably smart because as it was being pitched originally, it kind of sounded stupid. Also, let's be honest, at least some of the delay probably has to do with the fact that the world stopped spinning for a bit.
Yeah, also, if anything, why not? Because he was given the purpose from Master Yoda to basically find out how to become.
Transcend into Force Ghost form.
Yeah, so you could do that. You could do that journey.
Seeing him go through that training with Qui-Gon, especially. Oh my God! Can you imagine if they got Liam Neeson back as Qui-Gon? How awesome that would be!
Yeah, and it could be a spiritual journey, and you could go a little weird and cosmic with it.
And I do so love my weird and cosmic, so I am instantaneously in favor of this.
Yeah. So yeah. And the Cassian Andor Rogue One prequel starring Diego Luna has also been in development. I'm not entirely sold on that one, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't really know Diego Luna other than the fact that I think he's related to Gabriel Luna, who was a really awesome Ghost Rider in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, no, Diego Luna was Cassian Andor in Rogue One.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just don't think you should get because you're getting a prequel to a prequel, essentially.
Of all the random characters that deserve a spinoff, that's the one they go with. Like, Mind you, this was before a Yoda spinoff or a Mother Talzin spinoff or even a Sidious. Like, okay, the smart thing to do would be to make a young Sidious series based on the Plagueis novels. That would be amazing, and I would watch the shit out of it.
Yeah. Disney also confirmed that a new Star Wars movie is set to be released in 2022, when Disney released its updated film release date schedule due to the coronavirus.
They're probably gonna move it again because they just moved Doctor Strange ahead 4 months to March of 2022, and I suspect they'll probably end up moving it again to October 7th of 2022 if they're smart and put Doctor Strange in a Halloween-centric time period.
I'll be right back.
The coronavirus is fucking with movie release dates, but good. But at least in this case, in the case of possible new Star Wars, and in the case of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness getting pushed back a bit, I would consider the fucking date moving of the coronavirus to be mostly a good thing, because I don't think either Star Wars nor Marvel is really ready to go whole hog in the paint again. So take your fucking time and do it right this time. I'm not wading through another shitty Doctor Strange movie just to think, gee, maybe the third one will be decent this time. Yeah, no. Get it right. And the same goes for Star Wars. You shouldn't have been able to fuck up Star Wars in the first place because it's Star Wars, but you found a way to fuck it up, Disney. So unfuck it, please.
It was our New Year's, I believe, when I pitched my entire idea for the sequel trilogy. Like I would have done it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna go full in depth here. If you guys can find, I can't remember which episode it was for our podcast. I think it was in like our 40s. It was in our 40s, but
I think I remember podcast 12 had something to do with Star Wars, and because the Game of Thrones people were going to be doing a Star Wars trilogy apparently.
but
that was in 12, but
I pitched my entire idea for the sequel series after we reviewed Rise of Skywalker.
Right. Okay, I'd have to honestly go through and look, and I will. And if I remember, I will tell Brainstormer and he can adjust the low bar accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I was able to pull up the other article talking about one of the showrunners who didn't want it to be called female centric. So let me get that up and running. Okay, here we go. All right. This is from Bounty in the Comics. This is by John F. Trent, published April 24th, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Cummings to John Campea on the new rumored Star Wars series. I really, really loathe the descriptor of female lead.
And it is at this point that I have more respect for this person than I previously did. Well done, madam.
Yeah. Okay, so on the John Campea show, his co-host and Spartacus actress Erin Cummings explained why she loathes the descriptor of female lead while discussing the new rumored Star Wars series from Russian Doll co-creator Leslie Headland.
So this is just his one co-host person. It's not anyone actually having anything to do with the Like,
Oh, I thought it
wow.
was. Well, yeah, that is our bad, folks.
That is disappointing. I genuinely thought that someone in Hollywood got it, and I suppose in a sort of roundabout way, John Campea and this person are Hollywood adjacent, but yeah, no, that's disappointing.
Yeah, well, I guess we're moving on then, folks. Sorry about that.
Yeah, our mistake. Apparently, there is no self-awareness to be mined in the Disney Them There Hills.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
But I am. There is a reason, I suppose, why I am subscribed to John Campion, and things like that are probably one of them.
okay. So this is one that was this like a week ago, or did it really happen during the week? About uh, Wolverine, because I honestly didn't pay enough attention to this.
Um, all I know is I saw Comic Division doing a live stream about it, and I went to look it up, and I think this article is actually older. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
it is older.
yeah,
Holy
I
shit.
saw Comics Division talking about it, and I was like, how the hell did we miss that one? And I took steps to remedy it. And this was
Okay,
just a
so
very cringy looking one that I found on the topic.
this is from Vice.com.
Oh God, it's Vice. That explains everything. Fuck.
Okay, so this is published March 3rd, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, how the fuck did we miss this?
It's a very good question. How the fuck did we miss this?
All right. Wolverine might be a sexually fluid mutant in a thruple. Deal with it. Oh, right. This is by Alex Zaragoza.
Okay. Mr. Zarkoza, you are a twat. And that is coming from a member of the LGBT community. You are a twat.
Just wait until you hear the subheader.
Tagline.
Not tagline, subheader.
Yeah.
A new issue of X-Men suggests a thick-clawed Marvel superhero is hitting the sheets with Cyclops, and fans are losing it. And he used thick as in the
With two C's, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell.
What the?
And I'm betting he meant to use Wolverine's claws as a phallic symbol too. Yeah, no, you can go fuck yourself, Mr. Sarkozy. You can fuck yourself with one of those claws. Thank you very much. Hopefully you die from the internal bleeding.
Jesus, dude.
I'm sorry, but like I'm a connoisseur of cringy, awful humor, as you know. And
Oh,
I'm also
that's dark.
and I'm also gay, so this bitch being all meta about it is really pissing me off. But again, I said that mostly though to make a point. I wasn't actually directing it at him. I was making a point. This is the problem of making a character like Wolverine gay. Because if you really want to go all meta aware with it and make Wolverine's claws into phallic symbols, do I need to point out to you that adamantium cuts through anything, and therefore, if you want to make Wolverine a phallic symbol, or make Wolverine's claws a phallic symbol, and then make jokes about him essentially fisting people, then whoever he fists, unless they also have a healing factor, is going to die from a bout of internal bleeding that would make plague victims blush.
Are you good for now, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
There's drama afoot in the X-Men world, and this time it's about sex-men.
I I uh, that hurt me. I can't even imagine what it must have done to you. God damn it. You should be ashamed of yourself, Mr. Sarkozy. You may fuck yourself with a dick roughly the size of the Hindenburg when it's on fire. You well-poisoning son of a bitch. This is why people hate gays. Because when you get all flamboyant about it and make jokes like sex men, people want to grab torches and pitchforks just to deal with the innate onslaught of cringe. You are the reason people hate the gay community, quote unquote. Not because they actually hate gays, but because people like you make jokes like that, and every eyeball on the planet Earth rolls about 1.5 miles.
I'm not even going to ask if you're good because I don't think you are.
Well, no, but we can move on. That, like, I genuinely feel as though that was, like, this is the kind of parody bullshit that people who create anti-gay propaganda make their strawman gay characters say to make them annoying on purpose. And this motherfucker legit said it of his own accord with no self-awareness whatsoever while trying to be meta and funny about it. I don't like I just
Moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wolverine, Marvel's thick-clawed, perpetually pissed off superhero who might be a gay man, or more accurately, a gay mutant, and fans are big mad.
Okay.
Okay, first off,
go.
technically they're still human, even if they're mutants, so he is still technically a man.
Thank you.
That's all I got. So.
Okay. Secondly, that is not, and I will say this for possibly the 1,000th time that I have ever been forced to say this, but that is not how sexuality works. You may add to Wolverine's sexuality. You are free to add to Wolverine's sexuality because people do actually sometimes discover their sexuality being broader than they thought later in life. But that does not change the character's sexuality. It does not make a formerly straight character gay. It at most implies bisexuality. And that is not a problem under any stretch of the imagination. But as a bisexual man who primarily prefers dudes before you go, you're just a straight man trying to have it both ways, bullshit. As a bisexual man who mostly prefers dudes, it really rustles my jimmies that you not only completely ignore the existence of bisexuality, but ignore it basically in a way that essentially implies that you don't know how math works. If I have one sexual preference and I add onto it another sexual preference, I now have two sexual preferences. I shouldn't have to explain this basic math, but once again, 1 + 1 = 2, motherfucker. So if you're going to say that Wolverine is gay, not bisexual, not pansexual, not any of the areas in between that he might conceivably fall into, then that is basically you ignoring the entirety of Wolverine's history up until this point. I am rather charitable in the sense that I wouldn't mind if Wolverine discovered that he was bisexual later in life, because again, that is a thing that happens. But the reason I don't find that to be annoying, aside from the fact that I am bisexual, is because that doesn't actually change any of the pre-existing history. Every straight relationship Wolverine had, he can still have had, and then discover later in life that he was bisexual. But if you want to make him gay, in complete defiance of how both sexuality and mathematics work, then you need to actively ignore and disdain every straight relationship he's ever had, or imply that he was basically Stockholm syndroming himself into settling for women when he actually wanted men. And that is insulting the character. Again, adding to the character's sexuality, not a problem. Completely ignoring and subverting the character's sexuality is very much a fucking problem. 1 + 1 = 2. So if you want to add gay lovers to the mix, make him bisexual or pansexual and be done with it.
I
But
mean,
learn math and logic, please.
there was also I'm back. I disappeared for a second.
I was ranting the entire time you were gone. I didn't even notice you left.
I'm aware.
Mm.
Anyway, I'm back with ice cream, and there's this one universe version of Wolverine where he's in a relationship with Hercules.
With who?
Hercules.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah.
And now I'm officially jealous of Wolverine, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, but no, I thought I'd bring that up. I mean, granted, it is an alternate version, but Wolverine technically has been gay in past, but
in alternate universes, and I'm fine with him being gay in alternate universes as well. I don't care. I personally have a crush on alternate universe Colossus, who is gay, because he's hot. And honestly, I never pictured Wolverine as a bottom bow, and honestly, there's practically no way he could date Hercules and not be the bottom. So I'm mildly laughing at the idea of Wolverine as a bottom. If anything, I would figure him as a top, but that's neither here nor there.
okay. God, we have some of the weirdest and insightful conversations on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, while there have been some whispers and hints in the Nerd Network about Wolverine's, aka Logan's, sexual orientation for years, Marvel has created a major stir that the X-Men hero is gay or bisexual, and possibly even in a polyamorous relationship with Cyclops, aka Scott Summers, as insinuated in a scene from the latest issue of the comic X-Men #7, released on February 26th.
Okay, that's the other thing, and maybe I'm being a completely, stereotypically fabulous bitch here, but they don't work as a couple. And that's the other thing. If you want to add to a character's sexuality, you have to keep their characterization consistent, which means if Wolverine has a type in guys, then you have to at least make sure that they work as a couple. And Scott is too straight-laced for Wolverine. He's too much of a by the book Boy Scout for Wolverine, unless you want to essentially say that Wolverine is the bad guy of their like the bad boy of their relationship, and he's trying to get Cyclops to unprude himself, which is entirely feasible. But in my personal estimations of both of those characters, which I'm reasonably familiar with, they don't really work as a couple. Wolverine and Hercules actually do kind of work as a couple, even though, like I said, I wouldn't normally figure Wolverine for a bottom, but the chips fell where they may. But Cyclops is too much of a prude for Wolverine, even by gay standards. And trust me, as as someone who's very familiar with this area, dating prudes is no fun.
I'd ask you if you want to talk about it, but I think I get the gist of it.
Yeah, let's not. Well, it didn't amount to anything anyway because virgin, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
Mhm.
In the book, the X-Men are hanging in their retreat on the lunar island of Krakoa. Readers see Logan's bedroom is attached to Scott's and Jean Grey's boudoir via a connecting door, like adjoining hotel rooms. They have suggested exchange about Logan's body hair and how it makes it too hot for the covers when he sleeps, as Scott says while gazing into space. As they continue to muse about the beautiful scenery, Logan mentions Jean Grey in a bikini, which Scott replies, Scott in a Speedo. To this, Logan flirtatiously responds, Heh, well, who could say no to that? Okay.
Yeah, that it doesn't like the scenario itself doesn't really bother me. They're not doing with Wolverine what they did with Iceman, so it's fine. Although, even if they wanted to do with Wolverine what they did with Iceman, Logan and his body type is basically a stereotypical bear, so yeah, it can work.
I'll be honest, I am thinking I'm trying to give myself a big enough brain freeze with the ice cream so I forget this article.
What kind of ice cream are you eating anyway?
Cookies and cream.
Tasty.
Yep. Anyway, fans believe the scene implies that Wolverine is gay and shacking up with his former nemesis, Cyclops, and that writers may even be hinting at a hot mutant throuple with Cyclops' main lady, Jean Grey.
A throuple is just a relationship with three people. Three couple throuple. If anyone didn't know. And
Okay.
honestly, that would probably solve the love triangle issue. So why not? Although, like I said, I think if anything, Wolverine's role in this relationship needs to be unpruding the shit out of Cyclops because he's too straight laced.
Sorry,
And then there was an awkward silence as Brainstorm tried in vain to forget this entire conversation.
I'm just like I'm trying to. I was eating ice, like I said, I'm eating ice cream, and it's good ice cream. Like I don't want to stop eating it, but I know I got to like to talk.
It's better to eat ice cream than to actually scream, and I get the feeling on this topic you would probably start screaming any minute now.
I find it kind of funny because I'm actually trying to do a rewrite of the X-Men franchise. So reading this, it's just I find it kind of funny for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but the creative decision has X-Men purists and homophobes up in arms on Twitter and message boards, and they're not happy about Marvel's big macho mutant daring to enjoy the company of men. I don't think it's that; it's more of the suddenness of the change and stuff.
And once again the implication that he's gay rather than simply bisexual, because for whatever reason, all of these people who are obsessed with representation forget the existence of bisexuality, and in so doing, fuck up how sexuality is supposed to work and fuck up how math works. When you fail at basic math, you're bound to piss people off. And And speaking as an actual LGBT person, this pisses me off as well. Because, quite frankly, that's not how sexuality works. You can't just pick and choose your sexuality. If you like one thing, and then you like a second thing, stay with me, Marvel, 1 + 1 = 2, which means a person is bisexual rather than simply gay or straight. And once again, it pains me that I have to explain that. And honestly, it doesn't make any difference that Wolverine is stereotypically macho because, like I said, he's basically the gay ideal of a bear. So it doesn't really okay. For those that don't know, a bear is basically a hairy or heavy set masculine gay person, usually a top. That's the terminology, and Wolverine is basically the ideal bear if he were to fuck off and go by. So yeah. That his masculinity or lack thereof really has no bearing on anything. As long as you don't turn him into a flamboyant Yas Queen stereotype, please. You shouldn't have done it with Iceman, for one thing, and you most certainly shouldn't do it with Wolverine, especially because you've already got a pretty good, solid case for making him a bear if you want to.
You know what's weird? I think Laurel Kinney, X-23 or the new Wolverine, I think she is bi. I'm not entirely sure because again, I haven't really kept much up with that character, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know, but frankly it does kind of annoy me that lesbians get a lot more representation. I hate using the word representation, but lesbians show up a lot more because I think on some level they're the safe gay, the safe variety of gay, because straight men can jerk off to a lesbian couple fighting over them, but they can't do that with two gay dudes.
I mean, kind of not wrong, but
I'm not judging anyone's lesbian fetish, by the way. I know that's a thing that happens, and yeah, I can kind of see the appeal. I'm just saying it's really kind of annoying that every gay couple seems to be a woman and another woman in this day and age, rather than ever two dudes jacking up.
Okay, moving on.
Okay. As Brainstormer makes odd licking sounds as he finishes his ice cream.
One tweeted a #SJW cannot create anything original that consumers want because they are consumed with the evil of virtue signaling. So now they have made one of the most legendary comic book characters of all time, #Wolverine, gay. If that isn't evil, I don't know what is anymore. For fuck's sakes, stop. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, he's not referring to the gay. He's referring to the changing of Wolverine. And incidentally, I disagree with him in this case because it's not that they can't create anything original, it's that they don't want to. Because they see art as a means to a cultural end rather than an end in itself. So they don't want to create anything original and have to, quote unquote, garner authority to it the old fashioned way. They want to take what authority is given to existing IPs and co-opt it to make cultural change, quote unquote. Because they don't believe in artistic merit. They believe everything is willfully subjective. Therefore, if we just control what people think, then we can control the definitions of merit, and therefore everything can be a utopia. Derp.
That's a dystopia.
Yeah, it really is, and it baffles me that that no light clicks on in their brains. That what are we doing? We're literally unmeriting everything we get our hands on purpose and deliberately, knowing we're doing so.
Right. Another tweeted, as bad as a lot of hashtag DC Comics is at the moment, at least they're not hashtag Marvel turning Cyclops and Wolverine gay. Stupid. Stop with this stupid shit. You're ruining comics. Uh, hmm.
Okay, yeah, there's nothing particularly wrong with that. I I can see. Okay, I disagree with this slightly in that if they wanted to make Scott or Wolverine bisexual, they could definitely still tell good stories with that. But as we just covered, most of the forcing of diversity agendas exists in the context of merit is just a harmful social construct and we have to deliberately subvert it. So they're literally doing this and then willfully not creating what most people would define as good comics. So yeah, though I don't think inherently by itself making Scott or Wolverine bisexual changes anything. In the context of art is nothing but a means to a cultural end, yeah, it's going to ruin everything. Moving along.
Yeah, you mean.
As long as you can actually eat your ice cream without dying.
Jury's still out on that. God, that ice cream is cold.
Well, I mean, it is ice cream.
Yeah, I realized it as soon as I said it. I realized it as soon as
I knew you did, but I just had to be like, as long as we're here, ice cream is kind of supposed to be cold, you know.
You know what's funny? Like I'm eating it fast so I could like get a brain freeze again, so I can forget this article.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: I haven't gotten a brain freeze in like 15 years.
That long, huh?
Yeah, and I do the same thing with all every time I eat ice cream. I try to eat it fast, see if I can get a brain freeze. Nothing.
I just generally eat it fast as a general rule because I enjoy my ice cream and I like it, so it doesn't last long.
All right. Others flat out refused to believe Wolverine might be gay, rationalizing it was definitely a heterosexual thing between Cyclops and Wolverine. I would say that to my friends all the time. Guys can boost guys up without being gay.
Well, that is true. It could have just been banter. Um, that being said, I don't think they're rationalizing. I think they're just, if anything, they're trying to call out what they see as an overreaction, which is fair because it could easily be banter.
Right.
But in the immortal words of a meme from Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with that. God damn it, I love how applicable Seinfeld is to basically every situation.
Mm-hmm. Of course, it is possible that Wolverine was just being cheeky, and men of all sexual orientations may wish to compliment their male friends on how they look in Speedos.
This is true.
Yeah. Like
Unless,
I was going to say,
unless they happen to be prudish dickweeds, which, also happens.
yeah, I was going to say earlier when we got the actual quote of dialogue between them.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, like, on surface, it's not bad. Like it just seems like banter.
Yeah, it comes off as very organic. So if they end up making Wolverine bisexual, not gay, but bisexual, as long as they keep his character consistent, I don't mind it. And as long as they acknowledge, the basic building blocks of logic and math, I don't mind it. But it could also just be banter, and either way, it'll end up being fine. Frankly, hopefully, as long as no one subverts Wolverine's personality
It's gonna
like they
happen.
did with Iceman.
Oh, okay. Where was I?
Speaking of ice, as he's eating ice cream. Lol. Irony.
But a clear indicator of Wolverine being gay would be a first in the X-Men universe, one that would signal a more inclusive view for the comics creators.
Oh,
What?
for
the-
fuck's sake.
I'm sorry. Has no one? I feel like this guy hasn't read any X-Men comics or anything.
Like, okay, not that I feel like this is a good thing or a bad thing, because frankly, I think X-Men as a metaphor for minorities is kind of getting old. But that being said, since the goddamn civil rights movement, the X-Men have been a stand-in for basically any kind of marginalization you can imagine, and basically all the way through the original trilogy of X-Men movies, and also several of their comics at the time, the X-Men were a analog for the gay community, and there was even a scene in X2 where Bobby tries coming out to his family as a mutant, and his mother literally says, "Have you tried not being a mutant?" And lest we forget, the entire plot of X3 The Last Stand included the mutant cure. And many, many loud protesters screaming at the top of their lungs, "We don't need a cure, we don't need a cure," etc. So, the fuck? You literally can't get any more social allegory in a way that makes sense than the X-Men. True, someone could conceivably be gay and a mutant, and I believe what's his name? Is it Northstar?
Yep.
Yeah. Who is both gay and a mutant, and of course alternate universe Colossus and alternate universe Wolverine. But that being said, you don't need to pile on any more marginalization to an X-Men character than the one that they already have, because essentially mutants are literally more than human because of their genetics. That's literally all the commentary you would ever conceivably need. And you want to throw gay into the mix because reasons. Also, given the fact that there have been black X-Men, gay X-Men, female X-Men, basically every kind of X-Men you can imagine there have been since the goddamn 60s. That's kind of the point. You can't make the X-Men any more diverse unless you literally make them spout social justice talking points, like many recent X-Men stories unfortunately have.
Or you can just do what just get into the weird and like wacky part of X-Men that
Yeah,
started in the
you could
80s.
completely ignore the entire symbolism and allegory and metaphor laden crap and just tell really good stories within the context of the mythos. But we can't have that because art is a means to an end. Crap.
Moving on.
Yep.
All right. Where was I? All right. The scene denotes an intimacy between the former foes, not just based on the proximity and shared doors of their bedrooms, but through their conversation. Considering that Wolverine and Hercules made out in an alternate universe, seen in another issue of X-Men, it's not out of the realm of this fictional world that Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean Grey take it to the sheets. What the? I just hate that wording.
The phrasing is insufferable. Yes,
Yeah.
it's the
And also,
most.
I called it, Wolverine Hercules. I
It,
honestly didn't
it,
think you were gonna bring it up.
it's the most fabulous way he possibly could have said it, and it's really annoying. I can feel your indignation at the fact that I used the word fabulous like that.
Oh no, I thought you were going to rant, so I was gonna leave.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Once again, you're not doing the rest of us any favors, if I may speak as a member of the LGBT community. You're not doing the rest of us any favors by phrasing things in the most awkwardly flamboyant way you possibly conceivably could. Piss off, please. And once again, I just wanna point out that if if uh Wolverine and Hercules are a couple in an alternate universe, either they take turns or Wolverine is the most non-stereotypical bottom I've ever seen. Just throwing that out there. Moving on.
You have a weird thing about tops and bottoms, Dalton.
Well, it's kind of an integral part of being interested in men, dude.
Okay.
Because, well, I would imagine that it's the same way with when women are interested in women. You essentially have to figure out who is taking the more masculine role and who is taking the more feminine role.
Fair enough. Right, what was writer Jonathan Hickman has yet to respond to the backlash and did not immediately respond to questions from Vice. Fans of legacy cartoons and comics have been resistant to seeing characters diversified in the past, especially when it comes to sexual orientation or to race. Okay, may I start off with that?
You may
Okay.
go.
As a fan of legacy cartoons, no, here's something. I never watched the um, 80s Thundercats, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I saw the 2011 one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is fucking phenomenal. And
Yes.
it changes so much from the original cartoon.
I would say most of what it does is improving. Then
Okay, yeah, it improves it, but I do think it does change things, obviously, from art style and
well, yeah,
characters.
the tone and the art style primarily. Yeah,
Yeah. And
it really just expands out what it really just expands out what the original was implying.
right,
The 2002 He-Man did the same thing, by the way. I
right.
wanted a crossover between those two so bad,
Mhm.
and I never got one.
I feel like when you do like really good cartoons like that, for some reason they always get screwed over somehow.
Unless you have unless it's like a long established thing, because like Ben 10 got a little bit more serious in like the midpoint before they fucked it up again. In Ultimate Alien and Alien Force, I think. And
No, no, Alien.
that went on for freaking ever, which it should have because it was awesome, but
Yeah.
except for the fucking Anodite thing. But that's a different problem for a different day.
Yeah. And again, like these cartoons, the reason why we don't like them being changed, again, this is like the easiest example I can think of off the top of my head, but Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, and that dog is.
Fucking hell, Skipper, why? Of all the stupid bullshit times.
Yeah.
Never mind.
But yeah, it's a low hanging fruit at this point. But Teen Titans Go. I think most reason why people like fans of the original don't like Teen Titans Go is mainly because, if anything, it's kind of a mockery of what came before.
well, not only that, it's a deliberate step in the wrong direction. Like 90s cartoons deliberate 90s and 2000s cartoons deliberately built off of 80s cartoons. Like the early 2000s version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a direct sort of apotheosis or amping up of the 80s version. It was basically, let's take this thing and let's make the best possible version of that thing. The same thing is true to an extent of um, the DC animated universe in relation to like a Super Friends or the Marvel cartoons in the 90s and how they relate to like Spider-Man and his amazing friends and that. It's basically, let's take this thing from like the when we were kids and let's make the best, most complex, most awesome version of it. And apparently a bunch of fucks who grew up on those cartoons or who remember those cartoons decided, no, we're not gonna try to improve on this. We're not gonna try to make it better. Let's actually directly subvert everything that made these cartoons good and go directly in the opposite direction. And people wonder why it's bad because it's like when the early 2000s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or the early 2000s He-Man or the 2011 Thundercats happened, it was an evident labor of love for those properties. It was, let's take the basics of this thing we loved as children and make the best possible version of it for our kids. And instead of that, you basically went, let's take this really awesome thing we liked as kids and turn it into the worst possible version of it. And you wonder why you fucked everything up.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all we had to say. I mean, and again, it's like we don't mind you adding stuff to characters, either in cartoons or comics.
Yeah.
It's more of when you try to override pre-established history of a character.
Well, it's not even that. It's when the changes you make are evidently worse than the original material. Because you can make changes for the better, and people have. Like great example. My favorite DC hero is Dr. Fate. I love Dr. Fate. I've always loved Dr. Fate. And I hate the possession retcon. But there is actually a retcon of Dr. Fate's powers that I do like. It comes from the Smallville two-parter when Dr. Fate showed up on Smallville and the rest of the JSA showed up on Smallville. They gave him the power to see into the future, to see people's fates. I saw that retcon and immediately it was like a bolt of lightning struck me and it was like, why the fuck hasn't that always been one of his powers? He's called Dr. Fate for fuck's sake. But compare that to something like the possession retcon, which basically undermines everything that makes the character self-sufficient and awesome. That's the difference. You make a good change, a change that organically grows from the original source material, and people will love it. You make a bad change that is directly insulting to the quality of the source material and actively degrades it, and people are going to loathe you. It's as simple as that. And when your actual goal is to deconstruct and subvert rather than build, you're going to 9 times out of 10 wind up with something that does exactly what you intended to do, which is degrade the original source material. And you can't be upset when people realize you're actively degrading the source material and you're doing it on purpose. Fuck off, please.
Right.
Moving on.
When Disney's The Little Mermaid was being cast as a live-action remake in July 2019, fans of the original animated Disney film were up in arms over Black actress Halle Bailey being cast as Ariel.
No, not really. most of what I saw around that time was articles about how people were upset about it, but very few people actually being upset about it. In my opinion, that was one of the most AstroTurf things, um, one of the most AstroTurf controversies I've ever seen. What people seemed to actually be upset about, and I remember because I was one of the people who was genuinely upset about this, was the casting of Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. Because Melissa McCarthy is an acquired taste at best when it comes to comedy, and really doesn't have much in the way of like dramatic chops or the ability to sing or be campy or menacing in the way that Ursula needs to be. Compare this to when they did Little Mermaid Live, which was kind of the stage version, and they cast Queen Latifah as Ursula. That was the best part of that special. And I demand that they replace Melissa McCarthy with Queen Latifah just because of that. Not only because of that, but also because Queen Latifah said how much she loved playing the character. And Melissa McCarthy seemed to just kind of be meh on the whole thing. Now, I do remember seeing people that didn't think Halle Berry would be very good in the role, and she didn't have enough of a distinguished filmography to justify the race flip. But it wasn't, oh, this character's now black. It was number one, Ariel's probably most distinguishing feature is her red and green color scheme, which she can't have now because she doesn't have red hair. And number two, this actress has basically been in nothing, so there's a lot of pressure on her to do well, and they also swapped it. So even if she did an amazing job, there's a lot to risk there.
Yep. Despite the fact that Ariel is a mermaid, Wolverine is a mutant, and both are fictional characters. Some fans, sticking with their preconceived notions about what those things should look or act like, have fought changes that would provide representation in our ever evolving society. Again, the main issue is you're rewriting a character's history, then adding to it. And
Yeah, and you're doing it poorly. And
yeah,
incidentally, the vast majority of countries that have a mermaid mythology are European, so there's that. Now, the rationale they gave for why she's black in the new one is because she's a Caribbean mermaid, and the Caribbean uh, islands have a lot of black people on them, which I'm fine with. But if you're really going that far, then you need to go all the way with it. And honestly, if you're going to race swap the mermaids, then why not also um race swap the human characters? There's no reason why Prince Eric has to be a white European, especially if you don't want to use white Europeans. If you want this to if you want Little Mermaid, the new Little Mermaid, to stand on its own, make it entirely set in the confines of the Caribbean. That would be an interesting story. If it was like instead of a European prince, have it be like like a Caribbean chieftain or something. That would be an interesting story, and it would make the new Little Mermaid unique enough that people wouldn't need to micromanage it. But since Disney live action remakes work so very hard to be at least somewhat faithful to their source material most of the time, the changes that you do make are going to be heavily scrutinized, especially if the reasons you're making them have little to do with the story or the storytelling and everything to do with an external agenda that's being forced onto said art. Because again, Hollywood seems to be caught in the throes of an ideology that says that art is a means to an end rather than an end in itself. And that, more than anything, I think, pisses people off. And Melissa McCarthy. Get rid of Melissa McCarthy, Disney. I'm not going to tell you again. Get Queen Latifah in there. She loves playing the character. She was awesome in the live show. have her do it, and she can sing. Everything will be fine.
Yep. Plus, it's been a long time since I've seen Queen Latifah in anything of note.
She has been away for a while. I don't know why, but she needs to. I want her as Ursula, and in case anyone who sees this and thinks that I'm racist is seeing this, please note that Queen Latifah is black, and I prefer her to a white woman because of said person's individual merits, not because of their race.
Yeah, think
I
about
prefer to
the
judge
last
people based on their merits and not their demographics.
the last thing I remember seeing, like for myself, the last thing I remember seeing Queen Latifah in was was uh was Taxi, with Jimmy Fallon.
Vague recollections of that. I actually just recently watched a movie from my childhood that had her in it. It was called Mad Money. It was a movie I remember watching with my mom, where these three women who work for the U.S. Mint find a way to steal money that's marked to be destroyed because it's worn out. It's actually a really good movie. If anyone wants to see basically a cross between a chick flick and a heist movie, there you go. Mad Money exists, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least, if not awesome, at least pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, so making Wolverine a sexually fluid man would be a breath of fresh air in the comics industry and would open the gates for more LGBTQ plus characters in more mainstream entertainment franchises.
Okay.
Sorry.
Number one, there have been gay characters in comics since, like, I want to say the late 70s. Number two, there are plenty of gay characters, pre-existing gay characters already in the Marvel Universe. And number three, if y'all don't want to use what is arguably the best gay couple in comics, that being Hulkling and Wiccan, you can fuck right off with all this talk of diversity, please. Use Hulkling and Wiccan. Use them well, use them correctly, and then maybe we can have a discussion about you being in charge of more characters that are gay. But until you utilize, again, what is probably the best gay couple in comics and not completely ignore them, I don't want to fucking hear it. Hulkling and Wiccan are awesome. Use them more. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe for your next birthday, I will write a short story involving Hulkling and Wiccan.
I hope that they bring them to the MCU, and I also hope that their first movie is a romantic comedy, or the superhero equivalent of a romantic comedy, because those two are sweet as apple pie, and I love them.
Right, okay. If making such an important figure in comics gay could allow young fans to see themselves in the pages of comics, what harm does that really do?
Again, speaking as a actual LGBT fan of comics for literally all my life, pretty much, I see myself primarily in Wiccan because he's a magical nerd and he's gay. Incidentally, Hulkling, if it doesn't work out with Wiccan and you find yourself over to my section of the multiverse, look me up. Because if magical nerds is your type, then I can show you the world. Lol.
Despite Wolverine's continued ambiguity, one thing is clear. The man simply loves to see Scott in a Speedo, and the haters need to get over it. Fuck you, Alex.
You have not justified a single goddamn one of your claims this entire article. You have asserted on top of assertion on top of assertion on top of assertion, and nothing you've said has been logically consistent. Please, fuck all the way off into a crater the size of a black hole.
What he said.
And don't fucking patronize me.
Yep. So while we're waiting for the next article, do we have any closing thoughts on that or on the article as a whole?
Look, I don't want to be represented by people who think that kind of shit is stuff I should like. I want to be represented, if I must be, by characters that I relate to because of their personal qualities rather than their demographical qualities. Thank you very much.
Same. Okay, so it is, yeah. 1 second. We're almost done. Huh. I mean, granted, because the last two, that's probably going to be.
Yeah, we're saving the most content laden stuff for later, so yeah, it's still gonna be a long one, I think.
Yeah.
Though we've only been doing this for about an hour, which is good time.
Yeah. Okay. So this is from Insider. This is 2020 was supposed to be the year women ruled the box office. Then the coronavirus pandemic happened. This is written by Christian Acuna, published April 16th, 2020.
Oh my.
Okay.
Full disclosure, the reason I recommended this was because I was watching, I think it was an episode of HVR News, and I saw that they were going to be covering this in the after show, and I thought to myself, how the fuck aren't we covering this? So I sent it.
I wanted to put it on the back burner because I thought we could find something more interesting than this. But week's been kind of slow and stuff.
Yeah, it was a slow week, and this begs to be refuted. So here we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks and shout out to Brian Martinez, the Doge in charge over at HBR, for inspiring me to pick this or to send this as an option for this week.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay, so we have an analysis here. At the start of 2020, 5 of the year's most anticipated films, Birds of Prey, Mulan, Black Widow, Wonder Woman 1984, and The Eternals, all starred female leads and were directed by women. For the first time, fans were seeing multiple female lead superhero movies come to theaters in the same year. Then the coronavirus pandemic happened, resulting in delays and a jam-packed fall schedule that will leave films competing against one another.
I don't know where you've been, possibly under a rock, but like seeing female-oriented blockbusters has been not new pretty much since like the early 80s. In the 80s alone, you had Ellen Ripley, Sarah Connor, Laurie Strode, and several other female characters. So I don't know.
No, I thought I had one. I don't. Well, does Princess Leia count?
She was late 70s technically, I think, and come to think of it, so was Laurie Strode. But that just goes to prove my point. Female protagonists are a thing and have been a thing for a jolly long time. I don't know where you've got the idea that female-led shit is new or innovative. The thing I think you're getting at is feminist characters once again. And while Birds of Prey, you can definitely point to as a feminist propaganda piece. Black Widow ain't no feminist, and neither is Wonder Woman. She may have been conceived as a character. she may have been conceived by a feminist character, but or by a feminist person, but she has long since become a symbol of universal female empowerment, having nothing to do with um, feminist axioms like the patriarchy uh, or women's oppression or any such thing. So you can fuck right off. Wonder Woman is a character that demonstrates perfectly the difference between being a woman's rights advocate and being a feminist. And incidentally, I'll be taking the women's rights advocate position any day of the week over the feminist position. But yeah, so many of those characters you listed are not defined by their femininity in any way. Even Wonder Woman is more universalistic than any character in Birds of Prey was. So yeah, no, you can't just append your ideology to a particular demographic and then act like you speak for that particular demographic.
Shall I move on?
Moving on. Yeah.
All right. Even when theaters eventually reopen, will these movies even perform in the way they would have pre-pandemic? Industry experts predict the box office will have its worst performance since 1998. Even in a year where female-led films will most likely still dominate the box office, they'll still lose.
Well, all movies will lose, but the good news is you can make an argument for proportionality if you really want to. Since every movie pretty much will be dealing with hard time post coronavirus, you can make the argument that however much these movies make is a proportion of a smaller box office, therefore they're just as successful. At least in the abstract. But I hate to break it to you, Birds of Prey bombed like the Hindenburg, and it was over and done with before the coronavirus was even a twinkle in anyone's eyes. So yeah,
Right.
no, you can fuck yourself.
And again, if you guys want our opinions on Birds of Prey, just go check our review. I can't remember. I think it was like 55, 56.
And if you want to make the argument, oh, but China was dealing with the coronavirus earlier, true, but Birds of Prey wasn't scheduled for a China release even before the coronavirus happened. So sorry, you can't use China as a get out of jail free card this time.
Mhm.
Deal with it.
Before the World Health Crisis, women were going to rule Hollywood and the box office in 2020.
That's extremely debatable. It depends upon how heavily forced the female angle is. Wonder Woman and Black Widow were likely to be successful specifically because they are female characters, not feminist characters. And Mulan is likely to be successful for a similar multitude of reasons. Also, the fact that it looked good, which you can't really discount the quality variable in these kind of discussions because once again, coronavirus or no coronavirus, Birds of Prey bombed like a falling Hindenburg, but Mulan, Black Widow, and Wonder Woman 1984, unless those movies are a lot worse than they look awesome and therefore probably will make money anyway.
After a record-setting year at the box office in 2019, led by Avengers Endgame and The Lion King remake, Frozen 2, and a Spider-Man sequel, the 2020 lineup of movies meant it was going to be a huge year for women on screen.
No, I'm not allowing for that. You can't just take a entire demographic and say that there's some sort of universalistic hive mind speaking for that entire demographic and therefore women as a collective benefit from something. No. individual women benefit, certainly, but women as in the abstract hive mind you keep conjuring up because you think that essentially a demographic has a agency of its own, independent of its individual members, you could fuck right off. Moving on.
Yeah,
Went somewhere.
I'm still here. The year that kicked off when Warner Brothers, Birds of Prey, and Universal surprise hit The Invisible Man, starring Elizabeth Moss, was just the
Birds of
start of a
Prey
female-heavy
like the
presence at
Hindenburg
the
because it
box
was
office.
bad and feministy and Invisible Man did well because despite being basically what amounted to a feminist propaganda piece, it was done really well because we now knows what the fuck he's doing. In the same way that just because Pure Flix will inevitably fuck up 90% of all the Christian propaganda movies, right now and again you'll get a Passion of the Christ or a Darren Aronofsky's Noah, and those movies will do well because they're good. Moving on. Oh, let's see that. Which means I need to think of something to sing. Let's see. I believe the more you love someone, the more you give yourself, the more you're bound to lose. Hey, oh. I think if only somebody splendid really needed me. Although, since my life began, the most I've had is just a talent to amuse. If love were all, I don't know that song as well as it should have, and I should look it up to make sure the next time I sing it, I know it better. Let's see. Feel like I should sing Pretty Woman given the subject matter, but I don't know that song well enough. Damn, I think I might be at the limit of my repertoire of ready songs to sing. That is annoying. But at least me trying to figure this out will count as filling in the dead air, so the screen is not quiet.
Okay, I am back.
Huzzah.
Hopefully we were able to entertain people for a while.
I was, although I spent most of that time figuring out which song to sing instead of actually singing one. Because I'm kind of at the limit of my ready repertoire of songs to sing.
Yeah, sorry folks, I had to help get groceries inside.
And moving along.
Right. Okay. 5 of Fandango's most anticipated movies for 2020 were either films from female directors or centered around female characters. 3 most anticipated horror movies: A Quiet Place Part 2, Halloween Kills, and The Invisible Man, all starred leading ladies. Okay.
Are you honestly going to tell me that final girls and heroines are new to the horror genre of all things. Because the entire careers of Wes Craven and John Carpenter would like a word with you, if that is what you're honestly telling me.
I thought you had more to say.
No, just that is such a blatant load of bullshit. I can't even. Like, once again, the 80s called. It would like to remind you it existed.
Yeah. So they have some pictures of stuff that released. So you have Underwater, released January 10th, 2020. I haven't seen that movie. I didn't really care to.
Yeah, it didn't look very good, honestly.
There's actually a YouTuber I watch a lot, Australian, so it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Cordry, is it Cordery Effects? Yeah, it's Cordery Effects. He did a video on this movie, and like it's a wasted potential kind of movie where you could just do a disaster movie of likable
Yeah, it
characters.
looked that way. It looked kind of like The Meg, but with all the fun sucked out. Which is sad.
Basically, it's aliens underwater. That's it. What I gathered.
That sounds like such a wasted
Yeah.
potential given what we got.
Yeah. Birds of Prey released February 7th, 2120. Again, we have covered that.
It bombed, dude. You can't keep using it as a example to prove your case, given that it was very evidently something about your case that people were pissed off at.
The Invisible Man, February 28th. Quiet
Was
Place.
successful because Lee Winnell is a genius who knows how to make even a feminist propaganda movie done well.
Mm-hmm. A Quiet Place Part 2, original release, May 20th, 2020. No comment?
No. Well, aside from the fact that unless this is going to be substantially different than the other one, Quiet Place was about a family, so why are you singling out the mother of that family or the sister of the family in that case?
Because I think the mother's taking a more predominant role in this movie than in the first.
Maybe, but even then, if anything, I'd call it an ensemble movie.
Yeah, probably. Mulan, original release, May 27th, 2020.
Would probably be successful because it's a familiar property to the West and the East, and it looked really, really good. In fact, it looked probably like the best live action remake we've gotten since 101 Dalmatians. So, be that as it may. I demand the existence of Mushu in that movie somewhere. Somewhere there needs to be a dragon in that movie, and his name needs to be Mushu. It doesn't have to be a comedic side character like it was in the animated one, but I demand Mushu, goddammit.
I'm a little iffy on the live action Mulan.
I think the new villain is more interesting than Shan Yu ever was. So if nothing else, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. New Mutants, original release, April 3rd.
Was an ensemble movie, so I don't know why you're insisting on calling it a female movie.
Yeah. Black Widow, original release, March. No, not March. What comes after April?
May.
Oh, I said March up. I said May up here. The 3rd. God damn it, I'm an idiot. May 1st. Black Widow, original release date for Wonder Woman 1984. June 5th. And those two movies honestly look fucking amazing. And I think,
Yes, and they will succeed on their individual merits as individual women, not as a surrogate for the collective of women as an identity.
yeah, and plus I also think um, if the creative team behind these movies are smart, they'll use this time given, you know,
To make the movie better, yes.
yeah. So like
Totally
maybe
true.
yeah, like visual effects, because sometimes they rush these movies a little too much, and
Yeah, and it ends up looking a bit choppy at the end.
yeah,
But yeah, visual effects programming can mostly be done from a laptop, so there's no reason it can't be improved while we're all sitting here in basically a virus-oriented zombie land. Um, and incidentally, dear Sam Raimi, since Doctor Strange 2 got moved to March of 2022, I expect you to use that time to improve that movie. Let it be noted. Also, you should move it to the October release date of 2022 rather than the March one. It's not a summer movie, it's a Halloween movie. Do it. Moving on.
yep. Okay, what was that? The Eternals original release date, November 6th, 2020, and Halloween.
Was an ensemble cast, so why are you throwing it in the female category? Yes, I know certain characters got swapped, but does that really make the movie qualify as a female centric movie? Even if even if the lead um is female, she's the leader of a team. You wouldn't call um Guardians of the Galaxy a female centric movie because it had Gamora in it, would you? Even though she is half of the main couple in that movie, and it was very evident that a large part of both Guardians movies was building the relationship between Star Lord and Gamora. May she rest in peace.
Yeah, and Halloween Kills release date, original release date, uh, well, release date, um, October 16th, 2020.
And once again, I must say, you're being very condescending to Laurie Strode by throwing her in the female hive mind category. Laurie Strode don't need no female hive mind. Laurie Strode can kick all kinds of ass by her merits. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Um, here are 10 huge female-led films that were all originally supposed to debut in 2020 along with their original release dates. For the first time, fans were going to see multiple female-led superhero movies come to the box office in the same year that didn't just star women. They were also directed by women.
Um, Again, half of that list is stuff that doesn't qualify as female centric. You're forcing it to,
And
and
most of them aren't superhero movies.
and as much as I dislike Captain Marvel did exist, and so did Catwoman, and so did Supergirl, and so did Barbed Wire. So this is not new. And Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel both had females in the director's chair several years ago. Patty Jenkins basically created that Wonder Woman movie from the ground up. I defy you to tell me that that is not female centric enough. Hopefully, Alan, what's his name? Greenspan, I think, or whatever the fuck. The writer she got on. Hopefully, he contributed something to that dynamic because he's the one that's going to be in charge of the new Sandman under Neil Gaiman. So he better be bringing his fucking A game to that material. But that's neither here nor there. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay. So viewers were finally getting the sequel to 2017's Wonder Woman, one of the best films in the DC Extended Universe. Macy Williams was set to star in Fox's long-delayed New Mutants. Again, that's an ensemble movie, though.
Yeah, it's literally about a team of characters.
After more than a decade, Black Widow was getting her own long overdue solo movie, which was set to kick off the summer slate of movies. Again, we've already expressed our feelings on
Yeah,
that.
no problems whatsoever with Black Widow movie, but Black Widow, as both a character and an IP, stands on its own 2 feet and doesn't kowtow to the collective of women as an identity or a demographic. And also, yes, it does look awesome. And quite frankly, if they were interested in female characters, not feminist ones, they would have pushed Black Widow's movie a lot heavier than Captain Marvel's movie. But because Captain Marvel, at least in her modern iteration, is heavily feminist, and the actor that got to play her was heavily feminist, they forced her down our throats, completely irrespective of whether or not we actually liked her, and tried to make her, once again, as they did in the comics, the flagship character. Both times it didn't work, by the way.
Yep.
Captain Marvel is a little bit like Fetch in the movie Mean Girls. Stop trying to make it happen. It's not going to happen. Moving on.
Where was I? Okay, in the fall, Angelina Jolie, Salma Hayek, and The Walking Dead fan favorite Laurel Ridloff were to star in Marvel's adaptation of The Eternals. You can read more on the superhero group here, in parentheses. What said?
Again, just because they gender swapped it doesn't make it any less of a team movie.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're going to. At least I hope to God they're not going to jam the femaleness down our throats like they did with the Charlie's Angels reboot, or the Terminator reboot, or yeah, sequel. So yeah, no, please, for the love of God, don't we're women, we're awesome, feminize the Eternals. I just want my Celestials. Can I get my Celestials without needing a barf bag in the theater, please?
Right. And it wasn't just superhero movies. Mulan, a remake of 1998's Disney anime movie of the same name, was poised to be one of the highest grossing movies of the year.
Because it looks awesome. Having nothing whatsoever to do with the fact that it's a woman. Or a representative of the identity formerly known as women, if that's how you're actually measuring it.
Yeah, so where was I? Insider screened the Nikki Caro directed film at its premiere March 9th. While we can't say much about it yet, it's Disney's best remake to date. Yeah.
It looked about, yeah, it looked about as much. So, yeah, it just, thank you for confirming that its ad campaign were accurate. Or its ad campaigns were accurate.
Original co-director Tony Bancroft, who was a fan of the remake, who was a big fan of the remake, told Insider after the premiere it was going to be a big win for the studio.
And I'm sure it still will be whenever it actually comes out. Especially given that China is probably going to be the largest market for Mulan because, it's originally from there. and I'm sure Chinese people are chomping at the bit to just go and see some movie, any movie. At this point, I'm sure any Chinese cinephiles are clawing at their doors, being like, "I want to watch a movie in the theater. Why?" Because I know I would be. Moving on.
Right. After her role in Mary Poppins Returns, Emily Blunt was set to star in both A Quiet Place Part 2 and Jungle Cruise.
She did a semi-decent job as Mary Poppins, I'm not gonna lie. As to those other two, I have absolutely no fucking idea what they are, so I can't speak to how genuine or disingenuous you're being. In this instance, anyway.
Yeah. What was it? Even the male-centric world of Fast and the Furious was going to bring back Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, Natalie and Emmanuel, Helen Mirren, and Charlize Theron front and center for Memorial Day weekend. Similarly, MGM's Bond movie, No Time to Die, made it a point to transform and modernize what it means to be a Bond woman in the age of #MeToo.
And that piece of utter propaganda is probably going to bomb horribly. And I don't blame anyone who makes that movie bomb horribly.
Yeah. It feels like this is the type of article that just runs on without really getting to the point ever. Or if it does,
it's listing a bunch of things, but it's not actually. It's trying to make an overarching point, but once you've debunked each segment of the overarching point, it's just like, well.
Plus, the whole thing with James Bond, and I do agree that you could try and modernize it a bit, not in the way that you're thinking, Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't really like Daniel Craig's tenure as Bond, because you said it again, like it's supposed to be like Jason Bourne, essentially.
Well, no, the thing of it is, it's too much like Jason Bourne.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
James Bond, aside from being probably the original spy character in all of fiction, is a pulp character. He was literally conceived by Ian Fleming as a pulp character. And Daniel Craig's era has basically drummed out all of the actual pulp qualities of Bond. There's no quips, there's no gadgets, there's no high gloss, there's no seduction, there's no bantering, there's no, grandiose overarching plots. It's just generic spy shit. And the problem is, characters like Jason Bourne were inspired by Bond, and then instead of maintaining what made Bond great, they basically took Jason Bourne, slathered a few coats of British poshness on it, and called it good enough. I do like Casino Royale. Casino Royale is actually a pretty decent Bond movie. But as far as I'm concerned, it is the only good Daniel Craig Bond movie, and it is the last good Bond movie that we've had so far.
My thinking is, if you're going to modernize something, bring it to its logical. Bring all the tropes that make that thing, like James Bond. Bring those tropes to a logical conclusion, how it would actually work.
Yeah. Instead of constantly being ashamed of everything about your franchise and essentially constantly apologizing for it for 3 goddamn movies.
Right. The whole Bond girl thing. Why not just build up a single Bond girl over all the movies?
Yeah, or have a really awesome female character be the one that Bond finally settles down with.
Right.
If you want to do a strong woman, that's one hell of a strong woman. Can you imagine the awesomeness of a character who could finally tame James Bond? I honestly, I'm awestruck just thinking about it. Can we
Right.
please
And
have that movie?
my again, like, and kind of take an idea from No Time to Die. Why not make her a 00? You know?
Yeah, why not have him fall in love with another agent? What's wrong with that? That would in fact be awesome. Or hell, since the new M is female, have him fall for her.
Actually, that's it's a dude.
Oh, did they switch it back?
Yeah.
Because I know M was a woman for a bit.
Yeah, that was during the they killed her off and can't remember. It was either I think it was Skyfall. They killed her off.
That's sad. Oh, you're right, they did.
Yeah. You
God, I
know,
hate
I would
that.
also love
It's
just
so boring.
to kind of borrow an idea from Mission Impossible, which I think has kind of become the new James Bond series.
It's gone up there. It's kind of like yeah yeah it's definitely gone up there.
Yeah. Why not have I'm pretty sure this has been done before, but why not have a team that has the exact same training and exact same skill set as James Bond, and they're specifically trained to kill 007?
Or hell, James Bond has been around a bit. He's made some enemies. Essentially, why not have Blofeld, which is basically his biggest nemesis? Why not have Blofeld get get all the biggest, most threatening um enemies of Bond together and essentially Legion of Doom that shit.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I gotta do videos on this. God damn it.
Well, at least you have it recorded for posterity so you can go back to it later.
Yep. All right. Where were we? According to the Hollywood Reporter, Fleabag creator Phoebe Waller-Bridge was brought on to help bring a female perspective to the script.
And once again, we wind up in a situation where if she were an anti-feminist woman or a woman that advocated for men's rights, if, for example, you got Alison Seaman in there or Karen Strawn in there, you would flip all kinds of shit. But when you say female, you don't just mean female. You don't mean the perspective of the average woman or of a substantial amount of women. You mean ideologically female, which translates to feminist. And you can fuck right off. No IP needs to kowtow to feminism. None. Unless they were initially feminist, and even then, they should be most beholden to the feminist values of whatever wave they were conceived in. Like, for example, Wonder Woman was created by William Moulton Marston, who was a sex positive second waver. So, if anything, Wonder Woman, when she defers to feminist values, if she does at all, needs to defer to sex positivity and second wave feminism. None of this patriarchy shit. None of this wage gap shit. None of this historical oppression of women shit. End of story. Same thing with Charlie's Angels. Same thing with Nancy Drew or any number of other female characters. If they defer to feminism, it should be because feminism is a necessary part of the franchise. And even then, you could make cases for removing it. Like, for example, one of the things that made the new Charmed so terrible was because they tried to update the feminism involved from second wave to third wave. and in so doing made it horrible. So yeah, if anything, they should probably try to just remove it or double down on the campiness of it. But they didn't, so it was essentially ruined.
I'm sorry. I was thinking a little bit about like my own James Bond movie plot. You said he was a pulp character, right?
He was, yes, and is.
Right.
I
Okay.
own all but two of the actual original books, by the way.
Cool. Do you think clones count as pulpy?
They're a little bit more in the realm of sci-fi. I could see them working, but I would prefer not. Because like James Bond kind of is part spy, part detective, so I'd like it to stay in that kind of vein.
Okay. Just an idea because I thought like a team specialized.
James Bond clones fighting James Bond.
Yep.
And you could have them each look like a different Bond actor. That would actually be kind of funny.
Make them the rejects.
That hurts my head already. Can't even. Okay.
But all right, yeah. Back to this. Goddamn. All right. There were at least 20 movies coming to theaters which either starred a woman in a leading role, was directed by a woman, or both in 2020. And then the coronavirus pandemic happened.
Yeah. You just basically restated your title. Do you have anything to say on this, or?
As businesses began shutting down and stay-at-home orders took place across states, one by one, studios delayed and shifted their film releases in response.
Yes.
No Time to Die was the first film to move to a new spot on November 25th. Mulan is currently set for a July 24th debut at theaters.
Oh, the day right before my birthday, actually. It's fun.
Right, you're gonna be
25.
I was gonna say 26. I don't know why.
No, I will be 25 as of July 25th.
A part of my brain was also thinking maybe 27, but nah, you don't seem that old yet.
I don't know whether to thank you for the compliment or say fuck you. So I will do both. Thank you for the compliment, but also fuck you.
Yeah, I kind of meant it as both an insult and a compliment.
Yeah. Received appropriately. Moving on.
Wonder Woman 1984 is slated to release 3 weeks later on August 14th. Meanwhile, the entire Marvel Studios calendar has shifted. Black Widow is taking the Eternals release slot on November 6th. The latter film will no longer debut this year. It's now set for a February 12th, 2021 release. Okay.
Yeah.
Quiet Place Part 2 was pushed back until September 4th, though the billboards around Los Angeles, California, frozen in time, will tell you it already premiered. Jungle Cruise, a Disney film starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Emily Blunt, based on the theme park attraction, was pushed back to next summer.
It seems like it will end up pretty well for Jungle Cruise. It basically looks like Disney's attempt to do Jumanji, which I'm fine with. Basically, anytime you have Dwayne The Rock Johnson in a semi-comedic role, especially if it's kind of action-y or fantasy related, it works pretty well. So, good on you.
Yep. Okay. The highly anticipated F9 moved back a year to April 2nd, 2021, subsequently pushing back the release of Fast 10. There is no release date for New Mutants. Okay.
New Mutants has gotten the shit end of the stick basically every time.
Which is weird, because I actually think out of the newer X-Men movies that came out from Fox,
Yeah,
I think,
it looks like it could be among the better ones, but
yeah.
unfortunately, every time it's almost time for a New Mutant to come out, like, oh no, this happened.
Right. So why this blow hurts? It took years to get so many female-led movies to screen with female writers and directors, and now many of these movies will be released within a few weeks of one another.
It takes years to make any movie.
Yeah.
That's why that's why it's called production, because it's a production to make them. It's quite a production, in fact, most of the time. But movies are hard to make, women most affected.
Hey, look, I've made short films before, and those things take a fucking long time. I'm not just talking about editing.
Hmm.
Not to mention, I had to be stuck with fucking idiots who didn't know how to goddamn act.
Oh no, that what happened?
Nothing. They just sucked. And I sucked because I didn't know how to direct them.
Ah,
Yeah, where are the wise folks? Don't get high schoolers to help you make short films.
I feel it necessary to inform you that that was pretty much obvious to everyone, but I don't want to be a dick.
Dalton, your entire personality revolves around you being a dick.
This is true. It's either be comedically a dick or have basically no emotions. So comedically being a dick it is.
Okay, so women accounted for 12% of directors of the top 100 grossing movies of 2019, according to a study from the Center for the Study of Women in Television and Film on the employment of women in the
Why
top.
is that a thing? Like why? Just why is that a thing? You will note, of course, that there is no such team mentality among men. Men don't really get a explicit identity. No one is on team male demographic. Men just kind of exist as tools to the narrative, and surprisingly, that actually makes them better actors, because when you're willing to be a tool to the narrative rather than inserting your own bullshit into things, you become more useful as a means to the end of making things. But when you insist on constantly making a team of your entire demographic and warping narratives out of shape to fit that, surprise, surprise, it doesn't really end up going well, though, does it? But yeah, ladies, if you want to be successful as men are in this instance, then maybe try putting the female identity away in the same way that men really honestly don't have a team identity when it comes to men. Aside from a general sort of bros before hoes kind of thing in a bro sense, but even bros aren't really synonymous with men as a demographic. They're synonymous with a particular kind of man, but not men as a whole. Moving on.
Yep. Okay. On the employment of women in the top 100, 250, and 500 films of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
That number is up from 8% in 2017. According to the same study, women accounted for 20% of all writers in the top 100 films of 2019. Okay?
I hate to be a dick, but so you're not actually making an argument with any of these statistics. You're just presenting them as though they're supposed to constitute arguments by themselves. Well, they don't. They seem frankly kind of unimpressive to me. And not because I want to be a dick about things or stick it to the collective identity formerly known as women, but because those those statistics alone don't really correlate to anything, and therefore it's hard to make a point out of them. Unless you already have an inborn framework that you can't see beyond, in which case you see everything through that lens, and therefore you will see it no matter where you look. But for the rest of us that don't have an ideology in our brains filtering out every bit of data that it can to support itself, yeah, we don't really see what those random factoids have to do with anything. Just saying.
Yeah. What was I?
20% of writers, I think.
Right. Okay. In 2010 and 2017, that number was 10%. Okay, so here's the thing: is that most movies, when I check out like who was behind them, like in crews and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
more often than not, there are multiple writers.
Yeah.
On screenplays, and the thing is that sometimes the added writers are just there to add either editing or just help write dialogue or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually the head writer's job to have a clear, concise, and a clear, concise plot and dialogue and writing for the whole screenplay.
Yep, pretty much.
I'm not saying that there aren't head writers that are female. I'm just saying that the number of female writers might not be contributing much. There's no good way to say that, is there?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many bodies you have. It matters what those bodies are doing. And in this instance, it's kind of hard to determine what those actual bodies are doing.
Yep. Where was it? Okay, when it comes to women in lead roles, a 2020 USC Annenberg study of inequality across gender and race found that 43 out of the 100 highest grossing movies of 2019 featured a female lead or co-lead.
So, are you telling me that women aren't oppressed in this instance? Because I would wholeheartedly agree that women aren't oppressed in that instance. Because external variables notwithstanding, 43 out of 100 is just under half. And last time I checked, women were actually just over half of the population, which in and of itself is kind of interesting when you consider that it should be a dead 50-50, just just talking like numeric consistencies. But as it happens, men die younger because men tend to do more risky and damaging shit that leads to them dying. And women tend to lead safer, more luxurious, more cared after lives, and therefore they live longer. But yeah, if anything, this should be a sign that women are most definitely not oppressed. But you can't keep your own ideology straight. Either something victimizes women or it's a sign of how well women are kicking men's asses, but never both at the same time. Moving on.
Right. That's a 13-year high. Only 20 of the 100 top movies from 2007 featured a female lead or co-lead. Okay, well, Jesus Christ.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's on individual women then. Individual women need to make more movies that people actually want to see. And
Yeah.
then they'll go to see them, and then those women will be included in the statistic. If you only make 20 out of 100 movies that are worth seeing, then only 20 of out of 100 movies will be seen, and therefore only 20 out of 100 movies will be accounted for. If you make more movies that people want to see, then people see them, and your movies will rise to the ranks eventually.
Oh, hey, Chrononauts here. I didn't notice the comments until now.
Hello, Chrono.
Yeah, it can be done. Failure is a good teacher on directing high school students. Yeah. Yeah, and real world destroyed artificially inflated entertainment industry. Now Darwin says, "Oh, excuse me, 1 second," and summons natural selection in form of a market correction.
Basically.
Yeah. Okay. Why did it take so long to see an increase in female-led films, both in front of and behind the camera? Again, that's just because of individual choice, I guess.
Well, it's also, in general, women are less ambitious when it comes to careers in general. And also, incidentally, women are overrepresented in front of the camera. Would you like to know why? Or at least a good justification as to why? More women are in front of the camera because it's a lot easier for a woman to appear beautiful than it is for a man to appear handsome. It takes more effort for an average man to look handsome than it does for an average woman to look beautiful. And therefore, as a general rule, we like looking at women more, and therefore women get more roles in front of the camera. However, because beauty is very much a high risk game in Hollywood, not every woman gets to be a lead, but as a general rule, more of the smaller roles tend to be women because we like looking at attractive women. And let's not even get into the fact that in the particular subgenre that is pornography, female porn stars get paid almost 10 times what male porn stars tend to get paid. Again, because human brains are very gynocentric, which means essentially that they like women more than they like men. Moving on.
Yeah. Well, actually, okay. So Corona hit me, said maybe directors should be assigned numbers and no one is told the name or the sex of the director. Movie staff sign NDA.
Yeah, that actually probably wouldn't be bad.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, if we're going off of the we want to make sure that no sexism is involved, then just remove sex as a variable and call it a day.
Whoa. Okay.
That was weird.
I don't even know what that was.
Okay. Moving on. Well, in part, it took years to justify why female-led films and female-led superhero movies were bankable in Hollywood after flops like Catwoman 2004 and Elektra 2005. I would say those movies, it wasn't anything about sex or anything, it's just they were kind of bad movies.
Yeah, if anything, the lesson there is it takes more than an attractive woman to sell a bad movie.
Yeah, which is a shame because, like, for the Catwoman one, I think it could have worked if they actually did something with Batman, you know? But, like, you could tell a Batman story from the perspective of Catwoman.
If they had actually made a Catwoman movie with Michelle Pfeiffer like they had originally planned to and got Tim Burton back, that would have done well.
I don't know, like, I like the idea, like, I think Halle Berry was a good choice. I just think everything else kind of sucked.
Yeah.
All right. Did you see producer number 842 WTF007 new movie American Derangement Syndrome, a period piece? Chrono.
Oh, no. Never mind. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Studios couldn't seem to fathom that audience wanted something beyond the male gaze of popular female characters under a thinly veiled plot. Okay, and he's referencing Catwoman. Again, I kind of agree, not within the context of the article itself, but I mean, Catwoman. Like a major thing about Catwoman is her um, is her sexuality.
Yeah.
So you can't have a Catwoman movie without that.
Yeah, she's a seductress by her very nature. And here's the thing, once again, she gets power from it. If anything, the male gaze, as you put it, is a force that hurts men more than it hurts women. Why? Because if an attractive set of breasts can turn off most males' brains, then that basically means that a beautiful woman can basically snap her fingers and have an army of enslaved zombies in the space of about 2 seconds. And this to you seems like it's victimizing that woman who can conjure up an army of enslaved, basically sex slaves whenever she wants them. It doesn't hurt the men whose brains basically get short circuited by an attractive woman. It hurts the woman who basically can conjure up an army whenever she wants one. Somehow.
Sorry, I had to disappear for a quick second.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm back. Right. Okay. So in the parentheses it says Catwoman is literally about Halle Berry's character saving the world from a dangerous face cream at an evil cosmetics company. It's also filled with a lot of terrible cat puns. Again, bad
Yeah,
movie.
that has more to do with the quality of the. Like, I could give you a list about a mile long of bad B movie plots that have no gender in particular. The fact that Catwoman is a female character has bumfuck nothing to do with the lack of quality in those movies. No thing.
Literally,
No thing.
literally, I could come up with a better movie, like just off the top of my head, for Catwoman.
Though I do like the idea of the villainess character in that. I just don't think that character is quite right for Catwoman.
Yeah. Chrononaut says sex sells. My nature designed it so. It's not male gaze. Are they misgendering my gaze? It's eye candy appreciation. Yeah, I want to say yeah, but
yeah, Chrono, your brain is doing that thing where it's making like 5 points at once, and they all get jumbled.
I mean he's not wrong. Sex does sell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sexiness.
Well, sexuality is a power. To be attractive and to garner the attention of people you find attractive is a power in its own right. It's one of the things that fucking annoys me about sex negative feminists in particular. They don't understand that sexuality is a power for the person wielding it.
Oh, it's just funny because when it's funny that you bring up sexuality as a power because we reviewed Castlevania and
the entire Lenore and Hector plot basically exists.
Yeah. Goddamn, I feel so bad for Hector. I mean, he's a douchebag, but
Well, no, I don't feel bad for Hector this time because Carmilla basically did the exact same shit to him in season 2. You would think he would learn.
I think it's just how they went about it. Carmilla was more of a business standpoint of manipulation, while
She was also a lot more domineering, whereas Lenore played the I'm just an innocent little girl. You don't need to worry about me at all, Hector.
uh, now that I look back on that season, I actually like that more. Granted, still Isaac's story was like my
Yeah,
favorite.
Isaac's story was the best part of that season.
Yeah,
And I'm rapidly beginning to lose patience with Hector. Like he was always the more positively oriented one in season 2, and that's one of the reasons why I liked him more than Isaac, because Isaac used to be a lot more nihilistic, like straight up hardcore nihilistic. Um, but at this point, it's been shown that Hector's approach to things is basically naive to the point of ludicrousness. Like the old as the old saying goes, Hector, fool me once, shame on you,
me.
fool me twice, shame on me.
Mhm. Oh my God, Chrono! I could hire all porn stars, take a B-level script, and shoot with a set of cell phones, and make a better movie than Hollywood has recently.
You know, you are probably not wrong. As sad as that may be, because I've actually known a few Asylum movies that have been better than the things they're ripping off. Like I will still to this day maintain that Cody Dell is a better Thor than Chris Hemsworth.
All right, where were we? It wasn't until the success of Kristen Wiig's Twilight series, 2008, 2012, and the Jennifer
Wait,
Lawrence.
Kristen Wiig? Don't you mean Kristen Stewart?
Didn't I say Kristen Stewart?
No, you said Kristen Wiig.
Oh, but Kristen Stewart's Twilight series, 2008 to 2012, and Jennifer Lawrence led Hunger Games franchise, 2012 2015.
Right, I guess because every final girl in horror history doesn't count because reasons.
That action films with female leads were seen as a hot commodity. Weren't they just young adult novels?
Well, yeah.
So,
Also, Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor would very much like a word with you.
yeah, so technically, they were part of the YA craze of the late 2000s to mid 2010s, right?
Yeah. Um, yeah. Which was sparked primarily by Twilight
Yeah. Um,
and Hunger Games, actually.
yeah.
They're slightly different booms, but they kind of coincided. Anyway,
Mhm. But instead of an influx of female superhero films, Twilight and Hunger Games weren't superhero films.
one was a trashy romance novel, basically, that even most women are ashamed of, and one was a YA novel set in a dystopian future.
Which
It, ha-
was
it has more in common with George Orwell than it does with Jack Kirby.
that's a nice comparison. That's a cool one.
I do my best.
Yeah, and actually, now you come to think about it, a lot of film adaptations were um, dystopian futures.
Yeah,
Huh.
because teenagers like to see themselves as the poor put upon victims that are fighting against the um, oppressive structure. Unfortunately, feminists have that same mentality and don't ever grow out of it.
Ironically enough, I think the best YA novel series, not YA film adaptation, mind you, but like the best one I think is Percy Jackson and the Olympians series.
And oh my, what they did to what they did to those books in the movie in movie
Don't
form.
don't get me started. Don't get me started. Anyway, Hollywood starts for the next YA film adaptation, which didn't always pan out. The Mortal Instruments, The Giver, and Beautiful Creatures are among the many attempts of book to screen.
Beautiful Creatures actually wasn't too bad. As far as that YA craze goes.
I never saw The Giver. I saw Mortal
Don't
Instruments.
don't see The Giver. Read the book. Just read the book. The book is amazing. The book is one of my favorite books in kind of the YA genre.
Yeah, ironically enough, I think the only well, I'm not sure if it's even a YA. I mean, it was written by a guy who was like 15 at the time.
Aragon.
Yeah, I read those books. I never read the last book though when it came out.
No, the Aragon was more trying to cash into the Harry Potter trend than anything, I think.
Ironically enough, I think it did Harry Potter better. I mean, it wasn't exactly Harry Potter, but goddamn, I think it was better.
I mean, at the start, it was very formulaic as a series, but yeah, it got better
Yeah.
as time went on, and he actually got some skill.
And it honestly surprised me that he was 15 when he first wrote that book.
Oh, it wasn't able to surprise me because every writing teacher I ever had, whenever anyone would say like they had a dream of being a writer, you get the, well, this kid did it and he was 15 speech. Um, but what they don't tell you is his dad or somebody in his family was a literary agent, so it took a lot less effort to get it published because nepotism.
Oh yeah. Oh, that kind of hurts my feelings as a writer, but you know.
Mm-hmm. As with most things, it's often more about who you know and how you know them than talent, sadly.
Fair enough. In 2013, it still seemed a far-fetched idea to give female characters like Wonder Woman a solo movie.
I don't know who you were talking to, but no one ever said that. Ever. Ever. Ever.
You know, there
No
were
one.
um yeah, wasn't Joss Whedon trying to get a Wonder Woman movie made like in 2007?
Since the 90s, I think he's been trying to get one of those, yeah.
Yeah.
People have been trying to adapt Wonder Woman to the screen pretty much since comic book movies were seemed to be viable.
Hmm.
It's amazing it honestly took as long as it did.
I mean, we did get that series in the 70s, but you know,
But let's be honest, they changed a lot of the lore for that.
so yeah, no, it's just uh I got nothing to say honestly. Gal Gadot's debut as Diana Prince / Wonder Woman wasn't in the 2017 film. It was a scene-stealing cameo in 2016's Batman v Superman.
Oh yeah, she was one of the best things about that movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Frankly, I think that's kind of the problem, though. I mean, not Wonder Woman being in the movie. I just think, well, I
The
mean, it
the
was
fact that she so thoroughly stole every scene she was in,
yeah,
and
dude, that movie,
nothing related to the actual plot mattered
yeah,
to anyone.
oh that movie, dude.
Hmm?
Don't get me started on it. No, don't get me started on it. Anyway, in his book, The Ride of a Lifetime, then Disney CEO Bob Iger said he had faced roadblocks with Marvel Comics in getting both Black Panther and Captain Marvel to screen.
Wait, Bob Iger wrote a book.
Yep, The
This is the
Ride of
first.
a Lifetime.
This is the first I am hearing of it, and I need to read it yesterday.
Okay. God damn, this guy likes to write.
yeah, somebody who's involved in a loving relationship with the sound of his own voice, methinks.
Yeah, I was gonna say this guy likes to hear himself talk, but he's writing, so.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, YouTube removed the last comment. The secret is not females undressed. The secret is the males. Action for male adrenaline and the male backsides for women. Gold.
Well, women and gay men, or I should say LGBT men, because yeah. Speaking of, dear creators of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, why are so many of your jocks like not jocks? I want some male eye candy. Goddammit! It's the same problem I had with Safe Space in New Warriors. If you want him to look like a stereotypical jock, at least give me some eye candy to ogle, please.
You have. I honestly want to say it's a fetish, but I don't think it counts as one. I
No,
can't.
it is a fetish. It's actually the term for it is stenthalagnia, I believe, is how you say it.
The fact that you know that is
You
honestly not,
honestly,
it's not even it's not
you
surprising.
honestly think I would have a daily fetish and not do any research on it? Have
Yeah,
we
no,
met?
well, that's why I said it's not surprising that you know the terminology for it.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. What is it? In the book, Iger recalled someone from the Marvel team in New York telling him that female superheroes never drive big box office. Who the fuck said that? Who's that dumbass who said that?
Probably the same dumbass who said something along the lines of, "We can't actually create accurate comic book movies. Pe- people will never buy that comic booky crap that that you know monumentally stupid advice that people believed for multiple decades because people have no faith in the actual source material." But
Okay,
in such an instance, that's just another case of people not having faith in comic books as an art form unto themselves. It has nothing to do with the fact they're women. People were saying dumb shit like that about literally everything. There's a reason why um, Sam Raimi's Green Goblin looks nothing like the actual Green Goblin in the comics, even though there are actual concept art versions that have a more accurate to comics version of him, because people had no faith in actually the inherent value of the merit of comics. So we have to fix this. We have to fix this source material. It will never work if we just leave it alone and accurately portray it.
um,
There's no value in these comics, derp. Even though we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars making comic book movies. God damn, that's so stupid.
again, the major thing for a superhero movie is the story and also characters, but that's more about my feelings on it. But
And the world building and basically every other
basically,
aspect.
anything that makes a good movie.
Yeah,
If
you
you
can
suck
make
at one, if like one is like so um sucks so much that it overplays everything else. Like you could have good acting and stuff, but if you have a poor world that's built in this
yeah,
movie,
it'll never take off. And likewise, if you have a great aesthetic but no story, then sucks to be you.
yeah. I mean, granted, some movies get away with this kind of.
Yeah, because sometimes there are whoever is actually doing the job in the movie does such an amazing job that
Right.
it sort of works
Um,
on its own merit. But
okay, to bring up an example, Hardcore Henry. While it is a very simple plot,
oh my god, that movie is awesome.
yeah, it's a very simple plot. I think most people turned up for it was because of the first person view.
Yeah, the aesthetic and the gimmick and things.
Yeah.
Also, dear Hollywood, if you want to know how to do action video game movies properly, there you go.
We need to write a movie. No one puts baby in the refrigerator, says Chrononaut.
Okay, sometimes your random brain spasming does amazing things, Chrono, and that was one of them. Well done.
That should be on a t-shirt. No one puts baby in the refrigerator. And you have like a frozen baby in a refrigerator.
Well, no, it's a reference to a line from Footloose, I believe, which is nobody puts baby in a corner.
I know that. I know that. I'm just saying like that should be like that should be a t-shirt thing. You know what? I'm
What
gonna write that down and I'm gonna try and put that in every single.
what it should have is the scene from Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where Indy's getting out of the fridge. That's what it should have on it underneath that text.
I'm gonna try and use that every single podcast from now on.
That's a great that's one of the greatest random bullshit things that have ever come out of Chrono's brain when he's drunk on spasming.
And he also says Meteor Man now looks like a classic. God, I remember Meteor Man. That was a good movie. That was a fun movie.
Yeah, you know you done fucked up somewhere when Meteor Man looks like a classic.
Oh, Chrononaut says it's from Dirty Dancing.
Oh, Dirty Dancing, not. Why did I think it was Footloose?
They're both about dancing.
Well, I probably just confused them. There are only so many dancing movies with hyper masculine dudes in them.
Oh, Jesus. You know, yeah, it has two things you like, Dalton, as a gay dude. Dancing and masculine, really, masculine.
Yeah, hyper masculine guys.
Yeah.
Although dancing is kind of physically off limits for me because, well.
Yeah, but you're a theater nerd, so you kind of have to like dancing. You may not be able to do it, but you gotta like it, I assume.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Probably don't have to like it, but it is one of the ways that I am kind of stereotypical. It's one of the ways that I am fabulous, and so on.
I tried to give you the eyes, like the disappointment eyes, but god damn, I couldn't keep a straight face.
I successfully short-circuited the disappointed look. Huzzah!
Alright, but yeah, we gotta get back to this, goddamn.
Yeah, we knew this one was going to be one of the ones that did us in.
Yeah. Alright.
But we got time. So.
Alright. Fast forward and Wonder Woman succeeded in 2017's grossing over 821 million worldwide. And
because it was a really, really, really good movie, and people liked that it respected Wonder Woman.
Yeah, but again, we do have to mention that Zack Snyder, the third act, was kind of an issue for him.
Yeah, fuck you, Zack Snyder.
But overall, it was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't mean fuck you personally, Zack Snyder, because I know you had recent tragedies and nobody should have to deal with that shit. But creatively speaking, fuck you.
Yeah. Captain Marvel exceeded expectations with a massive opening weekend, and again by crossing.
Because it was stuck between two of the biggest movies ever made, and was said to introduce a new character that would play an integral role into the second half of one of those movies.
Which she did not.
Yeah, it was a complete bullshit. It was a complete cavalcade of bullshit.
Again by crossing $1 billion at the box office. For the first time, 5 of 2020's superhero movies were to be headlined by multiple women. Not men. All right, technically, Birds of Prey was a Harley Quinn movie, and Harley Quinn is more of an anti-hero than a superhero. But I think overall,
yeah, But also, lest we forget, and I'm going to keep bringing this up because he keeps wanting to use Birds of Prey as part of this example, but Birds of Prey bombed horribly
Yep.
for reason of its feminism, basically.
hmm Oh, okay, okay. This is interesting. Chrono's explaining no one puts baby in the refrigerator. No one puts baby in the corner, and the refrigerator part from their complaints on women being refrigerated.
Yeah.
It's called fridging. Kyle's GF and GL. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That actually did click in my mind. Like I was wondering if he actually meant that. Like
Yeah,
as
no, it's a reference to both that line from Dirty Dancing and um the act of babes in refrigerators, I think is what the term is, the trope.
yeah, it's not refrigerated. It's fridging, right?
Well, fridging is the verb, but I think the proper name for the trope, and I'd have to look this up on like TV tropes. It's like women in refrigerators or babes in refrigerators or something.
Either way, it's a stupid trope, and any character has been fridged before.
Although oddly enough, I don't think the actual instance of fridging that started off the term was actually particularly bad because it wasn't like hand waved away. It was one of the motivating axes of that character's arc moving forward. So
Yeah, and plus, characters dying to help the heroes grow. That's a normal thing. Not just in superheroes.
like what is one of the key features of the Joseph Campbell's hero journey?
Death of the mentor.
Yeah, the mentor dying. It's one of the most insufferable parts of basically every hero story because generally speaking, the mentor is epic and awesome, and you want to see more of them, and then they fuck off and die.
I mean, it can be handled good, but it's just
Well, I just generally get annoyed because I always end up liking the mentor more than the main character. It's like, aw, the
yeah.
interesting character's gone. Now I'm stuck with the less interesting character.
Oh, dude, I think you might hate me then when I create multiple mentor characters in my books.
No, I'm not. You, I'm sure, can do it well because I've seen your writing and I know I have faith in your ability to do it well. I'm just saying it's kind of annoying that the most interesting character is always the character with the least amount of screen time or book time because
That actually that's a fair point. Now that I think about it. All right, so goddamn, we get sidetracked so easily now. All right. These films will now be forced to open within a packed schedule and compete with each other.
so will every other goddamn movie.
Yeah,
But
that's the point of having uh, movies released.
yeah, and it's not like they would be released any closer together than they otherwise would be. But again, Hollywood basically crashes almost entirely when it's affected. And not just women, but the abstract hive mind of women that feminists claim exists. So it's not even women most affected, it's feminists most affected.
Okay, so Chrononaut responds, but Dawn's visual would F with their minds with Indy coming out of the fridge. What if we changed it to Laura Croft coming out of the fridge?
Well, is there a is there an extant meme of Laura Croft coming out of the fridge? I I like the and isn't the point to fuck with their minds? So yeah, the indie meme.
Yeah. All right, so uh movies that were set to be sprawled out across an entire year will, in many cases, be released within a few weeks of one another, and their box office opportunity will shrink along with it. Many of these movies won't only be competing against each other, but will be competing for eyeballs and money against other new releases that will that were already set for the fall and for next year.
Yes, and if they can't justifiably compete in that market, then they probably weren't that good to begin with. And if they can compete in that market, that just proves how good they were to begin with. But
And
again, entire economy crashes, feminists most affected.
yeah. Okay, assuming the current release schedule remains the same, there's only 1 week between the release of Christopher Nolan's next event film, Tenet, which I am actually very excited on seeing.
I am so done with Christopher Nolan, I could cry.
Fuck you, Dalton. And Disney's Mulan remake.
Mulan, I'm sorry, looks like the better and less pretentious movie, so I'm rooting for Mulan to kick Christopher Nolan's ass.
Again, a fuck you to you, Dalton.
Well, the thing is, the man has no soul. He can conjure up all the technical proficiency he wants, but he has no soul, no emotional core to anything. He's like a movie making robot who doesn't understand how like emotions work. And if I see another Oscar bait war movie, I'm going to shoot something.
Have you not seen the trailers for Tenet?
No, it just looked like Christopher Nolan going, "Look at me, please give me an Oscar again."
Yeah, no, not at all.
Well, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong.
It's like a time travel spy thriller.
Maybe by some miracle, Christopher Nolan has grown a personality, but I doubt it. He
Oh, okay.
he turned Inception into the most boring movie he possibly could have made about dreams. So I'm not hoping.
First, I never saw that movie nor really cared to. It just seemed like a very confusing movie, to be honest.
It's the thing is the ironic thing there is it should be and it's not. It should be really surreal and really trippy, but it's really, really straightforward. And it's almost annoyingly bland.
See, the fact that you say it makes me think that you are like intelligent enough that it seems straightforward to you.
Well, I mean, you're a writer, so your whole skill set is figuring out how writing works. So you'll probably find it straightforward too. Trust me, it's basically just a heist movie with a gimmick. That's
Yeah,
all
that's the
Inception is.
point of Inception.
It's a heist movie with a lame gimmick that doesn't take advantage of its premise. You want to see a better version of Inception? Watch an anime movie called Paprika. It ba- Honestly, I think the creators of Paprika should sue Christopher Nolan for basically ripping them off with Inception
All right.
and basically taking out everything interesting or colorful about it.
Okay. So 3 weeks later, Wonder Woman 1984 will be in theaters. Another 3 weeks later, we get Quiet Place Part 2. Black Widow will compete with WB's Godzilla sequel 2 weeks after its release, November 6th.
Okay, 2 weeks is actually not that. It's not unreasonable as far as movies go. Because if you know anything about movies and how box office works, you know that a movie makes 60 to 80% of its overall box office in the first 2 weeks. So as long as it's not within that 2 week barrier, it should be fine.
All right, so Chrononaut says they want no competition and no, it won't sustain.
Yeah, I think the ones that are good will. Like, I don't think there's any way that Black Widow's not gonna make over $1 billion, and probably the same is true of Mulan. Especially if China's back in the game by then. And especially given that China will want to go to the movies and probably want to see a Western movie finally after months on end. So yeah, all looks good on the front as far as those movies go.
Mhm. There are
If anything, I'm slightly more concerned about whether or not the Godzilla versus Kong will do well, because I want more epic kaiju movies. I would prefer if they had brought back Michael Dougherty, because I thought Godzilla King of the Monsters was amazing, but I also like Michael Dougherty in general. He's one of the most underappreciated directors working today. But I still want Godzilla versus Kong to do well.
there are at least 21 movies set to debut in the last 2 months of the year. In addition to the Bushback films, big releases include West Side Story. Wait, West Side Story, what is it?
They're remaking that? Seriously? Fuck.
Why does that sound familiar?
Because it's a famous I believe musical that's basically a modern retelling of Romeo and Juliet. And it's
Oh no, wait,
also
I'm thinking of Wayside School.
yes. I was actually going to ask if that's what you were thinking of. Which actually that was a pretty good book series. And the cartoon was actually not bad. Or not super bad. I wish it had been a little bit more faithful to the books and used the stories from the books to tell
God,
episodes. But
it has been like a long time since
I know. I think I was in like sixth grade the last time I read a Wayside Story.
I know I was in like I think I was in kindergarten when I read those books.
That makes rough sense because I'm 4 years older than you. So yeah.
Damn. Dune,
Nostalgia.
yeah. West Side Story, Dune, Godzilla vs. Kong, and the sequels to Top Gun and Coming to America. Any way you slice it, the
Wait,
fall.
they're making wait, hold everything. They're making a sequel to Coming to America.
Yes, and that's the one with Eddie Murphy, who is like a.
Yes. Are we getting Eddie Murphy back in the cinematic game here? Because he hasn't made a movie, I don't think, since A Thousand Words.
Like, are we talking live action or just movies in general?
Movies in general.
I think the last one was like a Shrek film, like the worst one, which is like a Shrek, like the fourth Shrek film that had like.
Shrek Forever After, but no, I'm pretty sure A Thousand Words was after that.
I do remember him making a re-debut on Saturday Night Live.
Well, okay, good for you, Eddie. But
He's
are we
gotten
getting Eddie
fat.
Murphy back on the big screen? Is my question.
Yeah, he's kind of gotten fat, and I can say that because I'm kind of fat myself. All right. But yeah, no, if he's getting back in the game, then I'm all for it because he's like a really fun comedian.
He did get overexposed. I'm not gonna lie. There was a time where I was like, "Go away, Eddie Murphy. I've seen you too many times." But I will be happy to have Eddie Murphy back.
Yeah, if anyone wants to see like small snippets of him, check out some of the like SNL skits called Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. It's basically like a ghetto Mr. Rogers parody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's funny as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, God, early SNL was actually really funny.
Oh, if only it had ended when it should have.
Or comedy wasn't dead at this point. Would have been better.
Yeah, somebody needs to go all Dr. Frankenstein on comedy.
I will try my best.
And no, I don't mean make a remake of Young Frankenstein. Frankenstein.
You know what? They should do a comedy using one of the old monsters, but like a really unused one.
Let's see. They've already done Dracula Dead and Loving It. They've already done Young Frankenstein. Nobody's really done much of anything with the Creature from the Black Lagoon except for Guillermo del Toro, who did the romance angle on it with Shape of Water.
Mm-hmm.
Which is awesome, by the way, even if it does get a little heavy-handed with the social justice metaphors.
I still need to see it. I don't want to say the Wolfman because there was the American Werewolf in London, which was like a horror comedy. So
Also, there are both Teen Wolf movies, so
yeah. Could always do one where it mashes like a Monster Mash movie.
Oh my god. That is literally themed after the song.
Maybe. I'd have
I
to.
would watch the shit out of a comedy based on Monster Mash. That literally builds up to a monster, basically what amounts to a Monster Mash music video at the end. Yes, my god, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Chronaut says if I was in charge of Disney, the next movie coming out and or being greenlighted, Deadpool 3. Publicly argue with Ryan Reynolds over budget. Privately, Deadpool fourth walling into the MCU. And he says no, they will jack up Coming to America unless he is directing it. I think he is Eddie Murphy.
Can we just get Eddie Murphy back in things, please?
All right. And any way you slice it, the fall and November and December especially are going to be very crowded. Tough months at the box office for any film to really stand out. Eh,
I mean, it's going to be hard for any movie to stand out now because, people will not have been paid in several months for the most part.
yep. I
And,
mean, I save up money, so I'm good.
there was that whole the world decided to be on pause for 3 to 6 months thing.
It's gonna be really weird to read that in a history book one day.
And be like, oh, I remember when we all had to sit at home from March to September. Lol.
So, fucking September? Are you serious?
There have been some people saying that that's roughly when it'll have to be.
God fucking damn it, world.
You can still go on your walks though. Don't
Yeah, but
go
I can't
completely
go
wrong.
anywhere. Like I literally can't go into places I want to go.
Do you have a park near you?
I have a few parks, but they're boring as hell.
Ah,
Well, no chili dogs for me then, because there's like this hot dog place near me, so
okay.
yeah, that I like going to.
I might be weird, but I don't like toppings on hot dogs.
Uh my main issue with them is that they put too much onions on,
Ah,
like so much that it ends up just like falling as soon as you take a bite.
yeah, that doesn't sound nice.
I do like the chili though; it like makes it really it is good, like the chili. Not like on the
I
hot
don't
dog.
like
Not like a
I don't
chili.
like chili anyway, so I can't imagine it being on hot dog would be better.
Oh no, I meant like in a bowl. But oh god, we need to focus. Okay,
Moving on.
yes.
At gunpoint if necessary.
See, man, I don't have a gun. I could do the gun cock sound.
Well, we can't all be weaponized nerd rage.
That is true. That guy's probably got some serious lung cancer from all the cigars he smokes. So it's a net, I suppose.
He's basically the IRL bisexual Punisher.
Yep. All right. And that's assuming that theaters will be reopening by then. When theaters do eventually reopen, these female-led films will face a different uphill climb as well. Will these movies even perform in the way they would have pre-pandemic? Industry experts predict this year's box office will have its worst year since 1998.
You know who else will be suffering the consequences of existing post-pandemic? Literally every other fucking movie.
And just people in general, because most got
Yeah,
out of
the world gets put on pause. Feminists most affected. News at goddamn 11.
Alright, so Chronaut says, it is my thing with comics too. So I offer $2 a comic. They're not worth 5 a piece. Same with movies. Well, maybe $4 a movie and $1 for popcorn large and one for a large drink. Dude, that is a serious thing. Like, I don't get why movie theaters are charging so much. Like, just by myself, I had it cost like $40 altogether for like a pop, just a large popcorn. Granted, I was like a member of a certain theater, like one of those like stub members.
Mm-hmm.
So I got it kind of a not clearance special.
Yeah. When I get movie theater popcorn, I go all in with the largest possible popcorn and extra butter.
Oh
Because
yeah, dude, fuck man, that is.
yeah, God damn, it's movie theater popcorn, motherfucker. I shouldn't have to explain this. It is one of the great pleasures of being alive in a Western country.
I need to get some
And yes, I
popcorn.
consider movie theater style popcorn to be one of the best things about being alive in a Western country. Don't at me.
I really need to get some popcorn from a store. I realize it won't be as good as like freshly made.
No,
Well,
but it's still better than microwave popcorn. Microwave popcorn is, for better or worse, the lowest form of popcorn.
that's what I was talking about. Like I have to.
I like those I like those popcorn you can get in a big bag, kind of like chips, as like my second choice
Yeah,
kind
but
of popcorn.
they're not hot. Is the thing. Is that's my thing.
Ah, yeah, but even like extra buttery microwave popcorn is still the lowest form of popcorn. I actually own a movie theater style popcorn machine. It's a fairly small one, but it's enough that I can fill a giant bucket with movie theater style popcorn when I want to. We used to have movie theater style butter for it too, but we ran out of butter, and I think it actually went rancid because we had so much of it, which was
Okay.
just sad.
Okay, so before we move on, Chrononaut says all their money is made off concessions. That is why for the cost. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that and the fact that movie theater popcorn is, like I said, one of the greatest parts of living in a Western country. Once again, don't at me.
Top 10 for me. All right. Even in a year where female-led films will most likely still dominate the box office, they'll still lose.
Again, just like every other fucking movie. It very much seems to be like you're saying female movies aren't given special treatments, and therefore it's misogyny somehow. Well, my darlings, have you heard this little thing I don't know called what is the thing? Oh yes, equality. That thing that you virtue signal about wanting to have constant fucking way. That thing that has actual negative consequences sometimes. Yeah, maybe you should look into it. Moving on.
Okay. So, when the theaters do reopen, there are so many questions that could affect the success of movies. Will audiences even want to go to theaters and sit among strangers? Will they have the funds available? Will the theaters be able to hold the same size crowds as before, or will they limit the number of people, resulting in fewer box office dollars? For the record, I mostly sit in away from people anyway, so nothing's really
Yeah,
changed
and
from there.
when I go to a movie theater, I make sure to go like 2 or 3 weeks after the movie has come out, so I basically get the theater to myself.
That actually happened to me once. Like I went to a movie, and it was just me and the person I went with.
It can be so much fun. That's why when I go to the movie theater, I always try to wait that customary like 2 week to 3 week period so that
And, I mean, the movie
you're
wasn't
more
bad.
likely in an area small as mine, you're more likely to get that if you just wait 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, I like having the sort of pseudo private movie theater to myself.
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah,
if it's a bad movie or it's just a really funny movie, you can sit there and riff the movie if it's just you alone.
yeah, I mean, the movie wasn't anything special. It was a what was it? It was that Legend of Tarzan movie.
The one that also had Alexander Skarsgård in it.
Yep.
Goddamn, we're mentioning Alexander Skarsgård a lot lately.
Yeah, for the
For those that don't know, before the stream we were talking about, or was this before the stream, or were we on
yeah,
stream?
yeah, it was before the stream.
Yeah, we were talking about brainstormers casting for um a DC cinematic universe, and you and he casted Alexander Skarsgård as I don't remember.
Aquaman.
Ah, and to which my response was Alexander Skarsgård is hot because Alexander Skarsgård is hot. An impression I mostly have thanks to that Tarzan movie. He was very, very cute in that.
I remember him mostly from the True Blood series.
I never watched True Blood. I tried to watch maybe one episode and it just didn't grab me. I should go back and look at it.
He plays a 1,000-year-old Viking vampire.
Yeah, that figures. So he basically plays Godbrand.
No,
More funny or less funny than Godbrand?
he's funny. He's got a more stoic humor about him.
Which makes sense because Viking and also 1,000 years old.
Yeah. Also,
Although now that I say that, if they ever do a live action version of Castlevania, I want Alexander Skarsgård to play Godbrand.
all right. Where were we? In China, theaters started reopening before they were closed up again in late March. In the U.S., theater executives and owners are desperate to reopen and are struggling to figure out how to convince people to sit in the same room as strangers get. You know what? Just wear a fucking mask or something, you know?
Yeah, and here's an idea. If you're worried about sitting next to other people, try to practice a little bit of theater etiquette because one of the reasons I try to configure it so that I always get the theater to myself and whoever I'm going with is because if you actually go when there's a lot of people in the theater, they are some of the most annoying, inconsiderate motherfuckers on the face of the planet.
Tell me about it. I don't mean literally tell me about it because I am fully aware.
Yeah, it's the old you're preaching to the choir thing. But yeah,
Like,
dear general moviegoers, you're in a theater. I know it's a movie theater and not a like proper theater, but there's still a level of etiquette you're supposed to observe here. God damn it. And what annoys me is people know that other people's habits are annoying, and they still do the same shit. Like though, I've literally met people who will complain about doing that shit, and then they will go ahead and do it themselves. And it's like, God damn it, why?
Right. All right, so. All right, so that's assuming they're allowed to reopen with CDC and government mandates.
Yeah, incidentally, fuck you, Communist Party of China. Fuck you with so many cocks that it would literally fill up the landmass of China, the entire thing.
God damn.
I'm sorry, but communism is evil and it's stupid on a level that defies description, and the Chinese variant of communism appears to be even stupider than the average communist. So, yeah, no, dear governing body of China, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah, so let's see. At least so far, movie studios still intend to release Mulan, Black Widow, A Quiet Place Part 2, and Wonder Woman 1984. Four of Fandango's most anticipated films of 2020. Those four may very well wind up among 2020's highest grossing films. But the harsh reality is the worldwide grosses may be lower than expected because of varying social distance practices across the world and the way theaters operate upon reopening.
Again, this entire article essentially amounts to the entire world is foobar and feminists are somehow most affected.
Yeah, fuck off. As a general populace guy, I will. I kind of do think the general populace, excluding feminists, because I know feminists can be part of the general populace,
Mm-hmm.
are most affected because I had a job and I basically don't have a job now because of this thing. Because like I said, I was a dishwasher for
Yeah.
a
And nobody needs dishwashers when there aren't any people to be using dishes to be washed.
yeah. So yeah, I kind of have no fucking income of money right now. So
Yeah, I think it's kind of ludicrous to say that any single part of the world is more affected than any other by the
yeah,
coronavirus. When surprisingly, when you biologically nuke the world, the entire world is a bit shit. Who could have guessed? Lol.
yeah, yeah. It's really stupid and shit. And this article is completely stupid. And one last thing, even in a year when women will likely wind up dominating Hollywood, they'll get the short end of the stick. Oh, fuck you!
You turn women being held to the same standard as everyone else into women's victimhood. You can fuck off
Gee,
so hard that you break your own spine in the process.
yeah, just that was a fucking hassle to get through.
I, I, how do these people, how do these people function without their brain short circuiting? I demand to know.
Greatest mystery of all time. But however, folks, I am afraid we are going to have to cut this a little short because we have an article, but again, it's just that last article kind of drained me in a sense.
Yeah, and it seems like the article in question will probably be a good place to start from next
Next
week.
week, yeah. So just kind of briefly do a common recommendations. So obviously, I'm still reading Doom Patrol. Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol. Uh, really good read. Totally recommend. And I started reading something that I got from my Comic Con adventures from last year in September. Because I still have those things I haven't read yet. It's a Image comic called Star. It's fine. I have some gripes with it, but it's still enjoyable. It's got enough action and just it's like a wink wink nod nudge nudge kind of deal with the story. I don't really want to reveal much because if you're like visiting a con or going to a shop and check out like the old
Yeah.
bins and stuff,
Spoilers.
find it. Yeah.
Here there be spoilers.
I do think. Well, apparently there's a tie-in with Savage Dragon from the '90s. It's remade
And somewhere corrupt just sensed disturbance in the force.
from the '90s one where it was kind of actually good.
So you mentioned Savage Dragon, and corrupt is not very far away.
Yeah. Yeah, this was back when Image Comics was still doing the whole like where all the like superheroes and stuff existed in the same world, right?
I think.
That's actually pretty cool, and I wish they'd still do that.
Yeah.
Kinda like not entirely like all their different comics and stuff, but for specific superhero comics, like the more cohesion, but
A
between
multiverse, I think, would be a good idea for them.
yeah. But yeah, do you have anything to recommend on?
Nothing that I haven't already recommended a bunch of times already, so I'm just gonna leave it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, folks. With that, I would want to say, with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, avideze, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
Women are not most affected. Now fuck off.